Face the flag, we're going to say the national anthem. I do that every time. We will not sing the national anthem today. We will go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
All right, well, good morning on behalf of Commissioner Tail, Commissioner Candelaria, and myself. We welcome you here this morning. We've got a pretty good agenda here, and we're going to get right into it. The first thing on the agenda is the minutes. Commissioners, have you had the opportunity to look at the minutes, and do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, sure do. I'd like to move that the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners of Montezuma County for our June 16th, 2020 meeting be approved as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the proceedings of the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners meeting for June 16th, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next on the agenda, we have planning, so if they would come forward. First one is a discussion with Ironwood Group. Uh-oh. It kind of slipped out.
Jeff, you can have a seat.
Yeah,
with
have a
them
seat right there. We
first.
got a mic. Oh, okay.
Hey, Don, you and Jane switch places.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to sit by you either.
Morning is?
Well, we got a few more with you if Rob and where's Doug and them?
They're still in the office?
Okie dokie.
You got me.
Thanks. So let's just start
You want me
with.
Go ahead and start.
Yeah, if you want to start with what you guys have.
All right. So Ironwood, they came to town to take over the old plywood plant and start their process of peeling logs for plywood production. They came into the office for a high impact permit, go through the application process. In so doing, we met with Jeff and Cherie and discussed the road impact fee and what that was about. And so I suggested, because of the size of their operation and what was going to be involved there, that Jeff get a hold of Rob with the Road and Bridge Department, and they could discuss the road impact fee, how those funds might be used, if they could work out something directly for that road or not. And so I know Rob talked with Jeff about getting with the adjacent other companies there. You've got Stones down there, you've got the water company, all impacting that stretch of road, but nobody else wanted to get involved or put up any money or anything to address Road T specifically. So at that point, we went ahead and went through the process with their high impact permit, and that was went through the hearing process. It was approved. And what we did at the time is they had a lease for, what was it, 60,000 square feet, 80,000 square feet of the existing warehouse building there. And that's what the road impact fees were assessed based on the warehouse at 66 cents a square foot for the 80,000 square feet. That's where we came up with the dollar amount for the road impact fees. Since then, they did a lease purchase. They purchased that building. They actually have purchased all the property that they're operating from. We didn't assess anything on the office itself or anything on future expansion. There's another roughly 50,000 square feet of building space there, but that's just kind of a brief view of where we are now. And then that discussion has gone back and forth over the months on the road impact fees. And
What is the dollar amount, Don?
It's like $52,800,
Thank you.
if I remember right.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
And then COVID hit and everything got put on the back burner.
And that's just for the 80,000, not the other 50,000?
Correct.
And are you occupying the other 50,000 right now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're using it all.
Because I think when did we got there, in
That's
January?
been
Oh,
3
it
months
was,
ago.
yeah.
That was end of February, 1st of March.
March, yeah.
February?
Yeah.
It was freezing.
It was chilly out there. The wind was blowing pretty good.
Yeah, there was a nice brisk breeze.
So Jane, why don't you give us the history just of road impact fees in general?
Okay. Road impact fees were first discussed back in 95, 96. And they were adopted for a lot lesser fee. It was $800, then $25 per mile to the nearest state highway. And in 2007, the road impact fees went up to $2,400 plus $500 per mile to the nearest state highway. In 2010, they were reduced for the residential structures to what it is currently at $1,400 plus $25 per mile to the nearest state highway. And the addition of per square foot for the business structures was added. And the road impact fees were established for county road upgrade and maintenance.
Okay. And Rob, would you come up and just discuss how those road impact fees are being used, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
He doesn't want to sit there.
So, in 2015, we kind of got this organized. Melissa, with a young lady, I don't remember her name, put it all together. And we found that there was a lot of money sitting in there ready to be used. So we put together a plan to start using these impact fees on an annual basis to improve these roads. What I do is I try to focus on point A to point B roads, not necessarily dead-end roads, roads that serve the public, and I focus on cash outlay, things like oil, asphalt, not so much chips or gravel, because we make that ourselves, right? So in 2015, the first time we actually started putting some of this to work was the Road G project. And if you recall, that was 5 miles of chip seal down Camel Canyon, and it was a DOLA contract. And we were able to pull 33,000 out to do matching in kind to get that oil paid for. And we went, this works pretty good.
Yeah, that's what these are designed to do.
Exactly. So then in 2016, we got the big $1.2 million project through DOLA to do the Kinder Morgan truck route. And we couldn't meet our matching in kind with our work, so we went out and we reached out and we pulled all these impact fees in, which totaled up to 126,000, which put us over the hill to do a match in kind on a $1.2 million project. So now we know, okay, we've got ourselves a working tool to do cash outlay ideas. So you go on down that list, 2017, CC, the same thing, Road 22, County Road 25. When we paved that, what an improvement. $203,000 went into that asphalt to get us all the way up to the old Lebanon School. Without it, we wouldn't have made it, you know? So it is a tool that we use a lot, but it is a tool we use for cash outlay. And we've got several more to do. I don't necessarily use the 5 mile radius. We can. We have in the past a little bit, but I like to go down a corridor, so to speak, Road 25 or Road G, and take out what's immediately close to it. But very seldom do I do just a single road to a dead end. In this case, if we use that money, or if you choose to let us have it or use it, it would fix the road from 145 to his plant. There's enough money there with a bit, well, I would have to kick in another 15,000 plus or minus to do a paved job from 145 to his facility. And I think that's fair because, you know, not a lot of people are going to use that road. I mean, I could go out 5 mile radius and they'll never even drive down that road. But the employees do. They live out there in these outlying areas and they drive to these places of work. So it's how you look at it. But in the big picture, since 2015, we've pulled about $600,000 out, not counting what we'll do this year. 52 miles of road were improved with this money. That's like 15 miles of chip seal oil, or 45 miles of just single lift chips if you want to just do maintenance, or 4.5 miles of asphalt overlay. So they do work, and they do work very well. 4 miles of asphalt is a lot of asphalt in this county. So, I mean, you got to look at it that way too. So, anyway, I was asked to tell you what we do with it, how it works, and that's the structure we use. So,
I got some questions for you. How much did Stones on the other side of the road pay in road impact fees?
it's not on my map. I don't have that. Montezuma Water paid $4,500 for theirs. I think that's.
No, but when Stones purchased Mountain
$4,800,
Gravel,
excuse me.
how much did they pay for the concrete plant?
It could have been.
They probably didn't pay anything because it was already
grandfathered
existing.
in.
That's-
They just took
that's-
over the
that's my
same
point.
operation.
And so why are they paying 56,000 and why did the Stones not pay any?
Well, because the business had been shut down for several years and there wasn't road impact or traffic or anything.
That business hasn't been in operation since, for at least 20 to 30 years.
That is not true. So what we're doing, we're going to be talking about a business that I happened to work at 8 years when I was younger. They call it the plywood plant. So why do they call it the plywood plant? I'll tell you why, because they made plywood. That was in 1960 some. After that, I've actually got a list. What I did is I reached out to the owner of the building that he purchased it from, of everything that has been there. And after there was a Ponderosa, actually it was before Ponderosa Timber, Dudley Millard owned the sawmill. Then Ponderosa Timber came in, and I think they owned it for 14 or 15 years. And then after them, there was a gentleman by the name of Norman Butler that had a planing operation that continued on for 5 or 6 years. And then they stored some with part of the building. There was also a chemical treatment plant called CCA, which they make the guardrail posts. That's copper chromium arsenic is what that stands for. And the treated post as well in that building. And so if that doesn't qualify, that building for the same use wood products is the one on the other side, then I don't know what does. That building has been in use off and on ever since its conception. And the thing is, it's kind of like living in a house. You don't live in that house, everything goes to hell. Everything hasn't went to hell in that building. That building's still standing up, and that's the largest building in Montezuma County. That building is 3 acres, which is 660 feet by 660 feet. That's the biggest building in Montezuma County. These people employ 75 people, or I don't know how many they employ, but they employ a lot. And I think it's ridiculous that they are being charged a road impact fee. Rob talked about his toolbox. Well, the toolbox means that there's more than one tool in the toolbox. That's not the only way that we get the money to do our roads. Rob has a mill levy. The taxpayers every year put so much money, they pay in a mill levy to raise for the road department. He also the county also funnels money into the road department as well. So that toolbox has multiple different tools for us to have these good roads. And I think the smartest thing that we could do is to waive this ridiculous road impact fee. In fact, I think the smartest thing that we could do right now, if we want to really help the citizens, is we should waive all fees in Montezuma County until further notice. If you want to really help these people that are suffering right now, let's get rid of every fee. We're sitting on $24 million, and I asked the question of why do we need a sales tax? That is one simple question. And when I asked the planning board, not one of them could answer the question, why? If you're sitting on $24 million, your constituents are your taxpayers, right? If your taxpayers are taken care of, then the county's going to be taken care of. It is such a simple formula. If it's the other way around and we gouge these people that are trying to put all these people to work, then we ain't going to have any tax base because they are the people that pay the taxes. So I think it should be waived.
So this is all prior to me, so I'm kind of coming in at the back, so I have a few more questions. So when did this come about? I mean, originally, when was it?
Their operation or what?
2018? Well,
April 1st, 2019 is when we started construction.
So last year.
So, yeah, Mr. Bunnell came in to introduce himself when they very first got to town, and you had just started, but that was at the
And I
very
remember
beginning
that,
of
but I
last year.
didn't realize that the process had already been going through, so you'd been going
That's
through the
when we,
process to get
that's when we
started.
first started the process.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's when we first started.
So then.
I think it was
um,
completed in August.
So then, basically, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that you're only assessing them right now for the 80,000 square feet at 66 cents a square foot? Is that correct?
Correct. That's where we started.
So
And
you're
then-
basically waiving the 50,000 square feet as it stands right now?
Well, we hadn't really gotten any further into this discussion because the original assessment has never been dealt with through the board.
Okay.
So there was no reason to pursue anything further or have that discussion. You know, if that's an incentive not to do anything more with it, which is more than fair, because they are adding many more employees using that extra square footage. But that's, I mean, it's not our decision. We just apply what's there in the land use code. And that's as far as we got because there was no reason to pursue anything further until we had this discussion.
So if my math is correct, that'd be another $33,000?
Yes.
Pretty close.
50,000 square feet,
Correct.
that's 66 cents, so, and your fee right now is 52 what?
52A.
52.8.
On a 70-year-old building.
So.
I
why
mean, so
was
that's the
that-
thing, in our land use is, we're going by a square footage, we're not putting the value what the building actually is, if it's a brand-new, state-of-the-art building, or if it's a 70-year-old building.
I'd like to ask, I'm
Jeff,
sorry, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah, what, have you seen your 2020 assessed, property assessment, your property tax assessment? Could you tell me what that is?
I can't offhand, but it has gone up since we've purchased.
Okay, you're in the 29% bracket, I'm sure of that, you're commercial.
Yeah, we
And,
have to be.
So I sympathize both ways, but they're going to be paying on that commercial operation out there. The equipment, what you've put into that business out there is going to be off the charts as far as a commercial operation, and your property tax is going to be large enough to choke a normal man, I have a feeling. And I empathize with Commissioner I see how, I know you're impacting that road. I know you're impacting that road. You're logging trucks, your stuff going in and out of there, you're impacting that road. But so is Montezuma Water and so is Stone Concrete. So I'm comfortable. Commercial assessed valuation of the commercial property tax are the highest of anything in this state. And they're going to be paying Montezuma County a lot of money. Not just the county, but the school districts, all the special, but they're going to pay a lot of money in property tax this year.
Can I say something?
Sure.
We carry a $600,000 a month payroll load, okay? Mm-hmm. And we inject another $500,000 a month in the economy, local economy. We do all of our business local except for one guy, right? And that's just because there's no industrial support out here, right? Mm-hmm. We've got 15 log trucks making 2-3 trips a day, right? We got flatbeds,
Yep.
right? Making 2-3 trips a day,
Yep.
right? We have 75 people,
But
we're
you
indirectly
extend-
affecting
yeah.
300 people, right? And if we have to pay this, that's fine, right? But we have yet to ask for any help, right? We've got no grants, we've got no anything. We've done this 100% on our dollar. So any little help would be great.
So why was, this is a question for you two, Dawn and Sherry, why was the water company not assessed anything?
Probably because they've been in operation, they're well in advance of road impact fees.
So,
They've
Oh.
paid $4,800, okay.
and how was theirs assessed, just the same way on the 66 cents per square foot of their building?
Oh, you're talking about their new facility up there by 145. I got you, okay, on their
Which is right
their new
off
office
of
building.
T Road?
Right.
right off the highway.
On the south side? Okay,
Right.
so
I
that,
have no
that's,
idea on their previous plan. I mean, that's been there for
Yeah, for,
long as I know.
It was a change of use.
Sure.
Their office building on the corner.
right.
Again, I lived there for 8 years. There was no office building there. That was a piece of
They
dry
came in and
land,
built
and they
it out.
changed the use and put an office building there.
I can tell you with my 30 trucks that move up and down that road, we are not the biggest user of that road. Come out and watch.
Yeah,
Right.
I used to
Come out and
graze my
watch.
cattle at the end of
Yeah.
that road. I know
Yeah.
so much about that road. And that road, I want to tell you, looks the same way today
Yeah.
that it did 30 years ago. Exactly the same. And if the other businesses down the road are saying, we're not interested in kicking anything, we're fine with the way the road is,
Yeah.
then what's the big deal?
And I wasn't asking for money from them, I was just asking for help. I asked if they supplied some gravel, I talked to Water, Rob and I talked. We were just looking for, see if we could do the whole road.
Yeah.
Because $50,000 is not gonna do that whole road.
Yeah.
Right, so we were trying to figure out how to do the whole road.
how far down there are you, like 3/4 of a mile?
We're just past the RV park,
Just, yeah.
just
Oh, half a
maybe a
mile.
half a mile,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not very far.
right? Yeah, so.
So why was, so the change in use from mountain gravel to stone, sand, and gravel, how come there was no fee assessed there?
Nothing changed there. It's a concrete batch plant, and it's a concrete batch plant.
And it was a grandfathered business.
So it was,
Oh,
it
Mountain
just,
gravel
owner.
just kept,
it just continually kept going. So the difference here is because it was terminated and then it restarted?
So Western Excelsior used that building prior to it burning down,
That's correct.
right? They used it
Forgot
for
about that.
storage, they had
Yeah,
that
that's
whole
right.
facility leased from Norb except for the 50,000 feet for wood product storage. And then when
and
it
when
burned
was
down,
that?
they had to pull it all out, right?
Yeah.
So, that was a wood products lease,
That just was a couple of years ago.
yeah.
right.
That's been
And the land
the
use
rest
code
of
says
it's
that if you cease operating business for a year, then you start over with high impact permit or what have you that was going on that location. There's
So-
a year stipulation.
But Western Excelsior didn't pay any road impact fees to use that as a storage building or storage place.
I wasn't here, I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I'm sure they did not. Well, I'm of the mind, I'm of the mind of Commissioner Sukla. I think we should waive these road impact fees to this business. I think it's we've got kind of a unique situation down there with existing businesses, with a business that was an existing business that hasn't paid the road impact fees for I don't know how many years, and I doubt the plywood plant ever paid road impact fees when they built that place. I know they didn't because they weren't
Would've been-
implemented then, so.
Way prior to that.
um,
Is that a motion?
the-
It would've
Yes,
went to-
I will make a motion that we waive the $52,800 road impact fees to Ironwood Construction
So
in Dolores.
before you do that, because now we have
Second.
another 50,000 square feet.
We got a motion and a
That-
second. We got a motion and a second to waive those fees.
Right. And
But-
I'm also
Okay, so you're
considering
saying
the 50 for the entire property.
For the entire
For the
thing.
entire
Yeah, for
thing.
the entire operation.
We got a motion and a second to waive the road impact fees. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Or are you still thinking
I'm
for
still
aye?
thinking.
Okay.
Still thinking
We'll
here.
slow down.
Because it's, yeah, just,
I hear you, I
I'm
hear
trying to
you.
figure out, I mean, there's,
There-
If it'll help you, Rio Blanco had the same problem. They took away their road impact fees, and they quadrupled their production, their taxes in their county,
In their business.
because they let the businesses go to work instead of constantly gouging them, and they're sitting in a lot better than Montezuma County is right now. And they've had the same system we did, and they like, you know what, let's just get rid of them.
so then I guess I'm gonna, and I realize that we're to a vote, and I need to vote, and I will, but, well, this will bring up another discussion, I guess, for fees in the land use code, is where that's gonna go,
Mhm.
correct? And you're employing how many people?
We're
Right now?
Up to 75.
75,
And we
which is
just-
almost about where you said you might be, right?
Yeah, and we've just ordered more equipment to double our capacity by the end of the year. So it won't double the people, it'll add another 15, but, and we're also in the process of ordering another logging site. We have 2 logging sites currently, and we're getting ready to order a third. So there's another 4 people there too.
That's what this county needs.
Exactly. It's a
What we need.
no-brainer.
Yeah.
And how
We
long
need
are your
businesses that
contracts?
employ people.
Or contracts.
How long are your contracts right now? I mean, I realize that they're gonna change with the Forest Service, but what do they typically sign a contract? Are
3
those
years.
5
Usually 3 years.
3 years?
On a sale.
or a sale?
Yeah, right now we have 4,000 acres in front of us, and we're buying more every time they come up.
So they're typically 3-year sales?
Yeah, you have
or-
3 years to complete it, right? So we take about 6 months.
So your anticipation would be,
8,000 acres a year of treatment?
oh, so you're talking long-term, 20 years,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
easy,
Oh, yeah.
or
Yeah.
better?
Yeah,
And so is the Forest Service. I'm
Yeah.
happy to
Yes.
announce.
Yeah, which is-
Forest Service
Yeah.
is too. Finally,
Yes, finally,
after
finally.
running out of business, a plywood business that was a wonderful, wonderful business in
Yes.
this community that was snuffed by them.
Yeah.
Now they're finally saying, oh, yeah, that is a crop that we should maybe harvest and do something with.
It's up to you.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't matter.
It's already a done deal. You
already
can
a
just say
done
whatever
deal,
you,
so-
whatever you need to say.
I just needed more information and to look at it. I mean, I realize that the tools that Rob is trying to put forth, I mean, we just put a lot of asphalt down
Yep.
this year. I mean, those trucks,
Subdivisions are great places to get that.
those trucks do impact that. I mean, but also
Those
too, I
are
realize
great
that
places
at
to get that.
29%, you are
Yeah.
part of that commercial rate that pays an absorbent amount
Sure.
of taxes that
Too much.
which it is too much. I would definitely agree with you on that. I'm a little reluctant because I don't think I've done enough homework on this, but I will waive them also.
So you voted yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for.
Keep going,
Keep
man.
going.
You keep going up there.
Okay, Don, what do we got next?
Signature. Signature?
We gotta go through the, voting and
Oh,
process
we're
first.
not there, we're not there
Right,
yet, huh?
This is a new, well, this is kind of a new one.
All right. why
It's
don't you go
another
ahead.
convoluted thing.
Convoluted thing.
Right, so, the Garrisons, this was brought before you back in 2017, for a subdivision and variance. And somewhere through the BOCC meeting, all that got approved was a variance for the parcel that wasn't approved or created. So now we are doing the amendment to the exemption that created this property to actually create tract 2 that the variance applies to.
And what was the variance done?
On the 230-foot diameter circle,
on
the
the top.
maximum they could fit on there was 229.
Yeah.
But somewhere in the discussion, the actual creation of that property or parcel never happened.
Never got
so-
done. Okay.
So this was your guys, yeah.
Okay.
But it's,
So yeah, we've been working with the Garrisons over a year, and they've had issues on trying just to get things finalized, applications and payment. And
So
Now
we're,
so
we're,
what
we're,
is
we're
the diameter of the circle now?
229.
229.
29 and we're at 230? is
fits
what
on
it's-
this, and 230's required.
Yeah. So we're talking a foot?
So, so rather than the exemption including that variance, we're just gonna let the recorded variance stand, and now it'll apply to this parcel.
Gotcha. We granted that variance, did we not?
Correct.
Yeah. So now we've got the parcel created so that we've got the variance and the parcel.
Now we got the puzzle
We got
put
the
together.
sandwich put together, huh?
That's
All
right.
right.
It's gotta go to 229 feet.
Yeah, so that's already done.
No, it's,
Yeah.
you already know how.
And this came about because there was an additional cabin added to the property, so now they have a guest lodge, a residence, and the cabin. So this splits off the cabin and the property there.
Property.
This is all up at Lost Canyon Lake.
Yeah. Okay, I will make the motion that the Exemption resolution on property owned by Thomas and Sally Garrison located at 35324 Road R.5, Mancos, Colorado, consisting of 20 acres more or less, north of Highway 184, east of Road 35, be approved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the exemption resolution in Mylar on property owned by Thomas and Sally Garrison located at 35324 Road R.5, Mancos, Colorado, consisting of 20 acres more or less, north of Highway 184. All those in favor, gentlemen?
Aye.
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 Both documents, yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, I've got to sign both. Thank you. That's possible this year.
Gentlemen, you have any more questions for the planning department, or Don, do you have anything else to add?
We don't have anything else at this time.
Okay. Nope, I'm good.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate the
I
hard
am
work.
working through changes. I just don't have enough developed to be able to get them to you guys yet.
Fair enough.
So
Yeah, and I
that's
haven't come
forthcoming.
across anything that Leanne had, electronic file or a folder. Only thing I found was stuff from '08.
okay, and that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
At this time, we have public comment. If anybody would like to comment to the commissioners, if you'd come up to the podium and state your name and address. All right, seeing none, we will close public comment, and we will go back to the agenda and go to the right of entry request by the Noxious Suite Department representing Bonnie Loving. Oh, here we go.
What do you, oh, that is a knapweed. How did that get that long?
Is that?
How did they
Is
get
that kale?
that tall?
This is Russian
Knapweed.
only in McElmo.
My gosh,
5 foot 5 inches.
I've never seen that stuff that
I know, isn't that crazy?
So was it in the middle of willows?
That was.
in the
it was
willow
growing.
patch?
That's how you get
Is that having to keep up with the willows, yeah?
Yeah, that's what was supporting the height. was the
Wow.
height. Pretty impressive.
Wowee.
I've never.
And then how far does the root system go down from there?
Oh, probably pretty deep. Oh. I don't know.
I hear
Probably
it's-
need a backhoe to dig all that up.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool to like dig a
To
wall.
do a
so you
profile of
could
that,
see.
wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I heard they go further than a hay.
Further than alfalfa?
Alfalfa.
Is
Yeah,
that
they
right?
go down
I
10. I mean, it's a long way.
Bindweed surprisingly goes super deep and it has these huge tubers. It's, yeah,
Right.
impressive.
They just keep showing up.
I know how to fix bindweed. Turkeys.
Turkeys.
Turkeys like eating bindweed?
Oh my gosh.
Do they?
Okay, so next week I'm going to give you a full update of our department. But real quick, we've loaned out 67 backpacks, and we've reimbursed $9,863 in cost share to 90 landowners. And just to remind you, we have a grant that from the Department of Agriculture that contributed $18,000 to our cost share. So we have $48,000 available to landowners, which is great.
Boy, that's good.
Okay, so enforcement and just kind of review, we've sent out 77 enforcement letters from 2020. We received plans from 44 of those landowners. 13 did not send management plans, but we missed our window to treat, so I moved those to spring 2021. 15 of those, I'm still waiting for those certified letters to be signed and picked up by the landowner. So out of the 17 approved right of entries, only 5 have been enforced and 1 is scheduled. So 6 out of 17 have actually gone
To the
final thing. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's one of those enforcement properties. In the right picture, it's cool because you can see across the street how well maintained those properties are. So this is definitely going to help them keep their property looking nice. Okay, so the right of entry, I'm requesting.
Well, I have a question for you. Are these vacant, mostly vacant?
A lot of them are,
landowners?
yeah.
So they're
And absentee ownership.
absentee
And
ownership?
Yeah, a vast majority of these
Yeah.
are.
that's perfect.
So this one is off 160, 491. It's actually Russian knapweed, not hoary-cress. They signed for the enforcement letter 5/16/2020. I've sent them notification letters since 2017. Here's a picture. Okay. County Road P, Russian knapweed. They signed for the enforcement certified letter 5/26. They've been receiving notification letters since 2015, excluding 2017. It's just solid knapweed. Next, Russian knapweed, they signed for it 5/21/20. I sent enforcement letters to neighbors. So although he was only notified 1 year prior, I need to treat the immediate area the same. If that makes sense. It's all knapweed. So that whole area was sent certified letters who had severe knapweed infestations. Next, is that it? That's it. 3. Is that 3? Yeah.
That's 3.
Yeah. Yeah. You gentlemen are in agreement with these? I would like to make a motion that the Board of Montezuma County Commissioners send weed enforcement, Montezuma County Weed Program or its designees right of entry into property to control noxious weeds on Resolution 18-20, 19-20, and 20-20.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve a resolution granting Montezuma County Weed Program and its designees a right of entry onto property to control noxious weeds based on an affidavit of County Weed Supervisor, Noxious Weed Resolution 20-2020, 19-2020, and Resolution 18-2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, and we'll see you next week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Make it rain.
Go pull all those up, would you?
Right? It's like a little contest I have to see, the biggest weeds I can find.
big-
McElmo is definitely leading.
That's a great spot for growing them, yeah,
It
yeah.
Excuse me, did you call for public comment?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I forgot my hearing aids, I have a combat-related hearing problem. If I could have a couple minutes, or do I need to wait?
Gentlemen okay with that?
Sure.
Come on up.
Okay. David Nuttall, Needful Provision, 25337B, Dolores. I'm here to ask for a letter of endorsement, 2 or 3 sentences, approving the application, the grant application by my charity, Needful Provision, on a new USDA program. I'll tell you about the program after I'll give you the background and tell you how and why it was created. The Center for Disease Control completed a detailed, lengthy scientific study which basically says there's more pandemics on the way. The reason being that there's about 2 billion people out of the world's 7.8 billion that are impoverished, and they're eating or consuming large quantities of wildlife meat from wet markets or hunting. And 3 out of the 4 new diseases that are on track are coming from wildlife. And they have now documented the fact that the Ebola disease, the very deadly virus that came out of Africa, was caused by African tribes eating bats, fruit bats. And fruit bats are one of the top commodities in the wet markets because they're easy to capture. And so it's a major problem.
What agency did you say said that?
Center for Disease Control, CDC.
Is that the same agency that in March told us that we shouldn't wear a mask? And
Pardon?
is that the same agency in March that told us that we shouldn't wear a mask? And then they told us in May that we should wear a mask?
Well,
Is
I
that the
think
same
they-
agency that told us that 10% of the people would die from COVID-19?
Well, they've made some mistakes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no
Go ahead.
problem. This is a peer-reviewed study, and it was endorsed by USDA and Department of Homeland Security. And as a result of that study, which was highly vetted, they it was decided by the Congress, a majority of the Congress, the White House, and the President, that a new program would be created for pandemic preparedness. And a major focus of that would be on food security. And as a result of that, USDA created a new agency called Urban Ag and Innovative Production. So the idea is they want every town, every city to focus on food production so they have it immediately available. The innovative production part of it is to help farmers increase food production. So it was suggested to me that we don't really need that kind of program here in Montezuma County because we have farms and a lot of farmland. But when you look at the USDA census data, 77% of the farmland is used for feed production, pasture or hay. And 49% of the farms in the county have farm sales of less than $2,500 a year. And the county is already on the list of being food deficient because the youth in this county have double the nutrient deficiency rate as the average for the state of Colorado. So this county is being asked to participate. There's a grant available. USDA is providing up to $300,000 with, we're asking for $297. These are federal funds. We're doing a $310,000 match. We have a urban farming element. We have a pandemic preparedness element with food security focus. Our innovative production is for farmers, and what we're doing is a demonstration of conversion of high tunnels, hoop houses to all-season greenhouses.
Do you have this letter that you're asking for the commissioners to support?
It's just 2 or 3 sentences, which I can provide, and if you need the language. It's just USDA, it's addressed to USDA. It's the Urban Agriculture Innovative Production Division of USDA, and basically the letter would just say that the commissioners endorse the proposal by Needful Provision to conduct a innovative program for urban agriculture,
The only
innovative
thing
production.
is we're rural.
Pardon?
We're rural. We're not urban. We're rural.
Yeah, it's combined. It's a combined program. The farmers that have read it are supportive and very excited about the program. What we're doing with the hoop houses, we have a.
But how do you get a grant for urban if you're rural? We're not considered urban. We're rural. So how do you get an urban grant?
It's not.
You'd have to get a rural grant.
It's not an urban grant.
But you just said that it was called the urban, you had a name
Well,
for it.
it may be mislabeled, but it's called, the new division is.
CDC again, probably.
Yeah, it's probably mislabeled. It's called Urban Ag Innovative Production. The innovative production part of it is rural and for farmers. So it's got 2
Okay, but
parts. It's got two parts.
Let's have a discussion with the commissioners about this letter,
I didn't see the letter for the.
or the
approval, but-
topic.
The topic, but I had asked you, I had sent an email in response to one of your emails, and I basically asked,
Oh, now the commissioner has to say. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Commissioner, I think you can
Okay.
override that thing.
I can't override that thing. You don't need our support to submit a grant.
Well, there's a point system on the evaluation, and the more local support you can show, the more points you get, which means you have a better chance of getting the grant.
What other support do you have right now? Who's?
The town of Dolores, and we have Dolores Rotary, we have one of the food banks in Dolores. So we've got 3 major corporations supporting the effort, the biggest being Pfizer Gardol. We have Hayes Engineering, those are the 2 big ones. We've already gotten over $90,000 worth of donated engineering. It was a little bit of an effort to get a system to convert hoop houses to all-season greenhouses. So that's what we're doing for farmers. Over and above that, we're hoping to get a,
So do these go on private property?
pardon?
Do these go on private property, certain farmers? Is that how it works? These hoop houses, where are they constructed at?
The demonstration project's going to be on Renee King's property on T.5. So we'll have a supplemental heating system and a solar zeolite cooling system to convert a hoop house to an all-season greenhouse.
Would you be willing to move it to county property?
To what property?
County property, like
County
that?
property, that would not be a problem. The other part of it, which I'll quickly explain, we're hoping to get a USDA FDA certified food processing trailer. It was developed by Kentucky State University to help farmers produce value-added food products, and basically it triples their income. So instead
What
of
does
getting,
that trailer cost?
pardon?
What does that trailer cost?
It's $76,000. It's 14,000 pounds, 3-axle. It's self-sustained, self-supporting, process, can, freeze, dry, store, everything. And the main focus is to create value add, to help farmers, train farmers, and help them create value-added food products.
What kind of value-added food products?
Pardon?
What kind of value-added food products are they?
Oh, there's a list of 30 or 40. An example would be, under the new safety regs, if you were doing a stir fry as a value-added product, it would be a mixture of vegetables that were cut and triple washed, have a farm label, a nutrient label, a date of processing, and it's sold as a stir fry mixture. That's just one example.
All right, I think we better make a decision and move on. Commissioners, do you have any thoughts, discussion?
I would like to see the letters from the other people to see what they're talking about, and then more I mean, how much time do you have?
How much time
Right.
till it's submitted? It's due the 6th of next month. Has to be submitted on grants.gov. So to be safe, it has to go in on the 5th.
So it can go without our endorsement of anything anyway.
Yeah, we don't have to have your endorsement, so, not for this project. There was a USDA SNAP grant for $2 million, and we ran into some roadblocks on that. And we would have had to have your endorsement for that one because SNAP was involved. And SNAP was going to do the food distribution of the foods that were produced in the experimental systems that we were building and putting into production.
All right,
So
are
we
you
lost-
making a
Question-
suggestion, Commissioner?
Well, no, I was going to ask you the question that you had asked as far as putting this mobile unit and greenhouse or hoop house greenhouse on county property. What was your thought there? What was?
Well, I guess my thought is that we are a rural community, not an urban community. We have multiple farmers and that are having a hard time making a living right now.
Right.
And just because they raise hay one year doesn't mean they can't be growing tomatoes the next. And so I don't want to ever see where government, because of a government grant, it gives an advantage over the people that have been here for a long time, and or it puts them at a disadvantage.
Right,
That's my concern.
right. And we also have a biosecure poultry house we will be demonstrating. So for broiler production or for layers. So
All I know about is
it's
turkeys.
a good opportunity, it's a good opportunity for farmers to increase their income.
Well, why don't you present the letter to us and we'll look at it next week? How about that?
Okay, all right.
Okay, Commissioner?
Yeah.
All
So
right.
you want me to come next week then with a letter?
Yep.
Yeah. So we
Okay,
can read the
I'll
letter.
do
Well,
that.
get the
Or
letter
you can
to us
email the
beforehand.
letters
Yeah.
to us prior.
Just
Don't-
get us the letter beforehand so we can look at it.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's go to Social Services, Gina Montoya, and I see Lori Higgins is not here, so.
Luann.
Luann, we got Luann here today. Good morning, Gina, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Got batteries.
I've looked over these, and I would like to move that we approve the Montezuma County Board of Social Services record of proceedings for May 2020.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the Montezuma County Board of Social Services that met on Tuesday, May 26, 2020. Their record of proceedings, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
We need to sign these two.
I see our food stamps are staying right up there. Is that still from the CARES Act? Is that money still coming as a special supplement, or are we going to be staying at that 850,000?
Actually, it went down from 1 million to
Right, 1 point,
850,
right.
so,
But it's 300,000 above our normal.
right, right. I don't know I don't know what the trend's gonna be, number one. I can't tell you. would have to see what that would look like in the next 3 months. But I can tell you that we had I think it was 163 new food stamp applications.
163?
Yes. Those are,
And is that 1 month?
that's for 1 month, new applications for food stamps.
What does that tell you about what's going on in our county?
That's telling you that people are needing food stamps and they're not making it. And that probably has to do with no jobs. We also had 10 Colorado Works applications, which for the month of May, there's 10 new applications for that. And I believe that once the unemployment runs out, I think we may have some more new TANF folks coming on board. And we'll have to see what that looks like for June and July. And we had 113 new Medicaid applications for the month of May. So, I want to look at the trends over the months and see what that looks like.
You know what the trends are going to be, Gina.
Increase, increase.
There's no mystery to that. It's just how.
Yeah, but
how
last
severe.
month was like really 115% increase in food stamps. That's quite a bit.
Can you compare it to last year?
I can do it for you next year.
Feels scary.
Next month.
You don't want
Well,
us-
right.
Yeah, I can't. I'd have
Right
to
now you
look.
can't, but
No.
it will, I'm sure.
I can do the comparisons for you all at the next meeting, and I can have those
It's
broken
just going to
down.
be where the decimal place is at.
Right.
Yeah. We know what it is, so.
Yeah. And I think,
The numbers on the hospital. I want to know what the hospital,
mhm.
the It's gotta be devastating.
Oh, yeah, for their
Yeah.
financials, yeah.
Yeah, their financials.
And I'm really disappointed to find out that the state is looking at not funding the Employment First program. Do you remember I went through all that?
Oh, yeah.
To get that person, to get these folks, the ABOD people who are adults with out dependent children, to get them out in training, to have some kind of work site to work with. Well, that money is probably no longer going to be with us. So, like you said before, watch what the state funds and watch what the state doesn't fund. So I'm pretty disappointed in that whole thing. It's like we're not gonna, it looks like they're gonna opt out of the EF program and we won't have that funding. Here in Montezuma
I've seen
County.
it, and I don't know if, just take it with a grain of salt, but they're dropping funding for education by 30%. Surely that number isn't correct.
I saw numbers, they were $512 million in arrears going into this budget year. And I saw a number, and I don't know if the states stand with it, but they're going to take 700 and some odd million out of a K through 12 education to try and balance their budget. So they're scrambling. You're gonna see a lot of money come out of a lot of things. Do we have anybody employed by that EFF?
Well, we
Grant?
we only started in October, if you remember.
Mhm.
I'd have to see how many people got employed out of that program.
No, but do we have somebody employed with the county to run that program?
Yes, we do, out of that allocation, but it's going to be okay because she can move into another eligibility tech position that I had open anyway. So she's not, we're going to need the manpower because we're going to have to start doing redeterminations because we got waivers not to have the face-to-face contact. Right now, those waivers are in place until the end of June. We will find out from the federal government if the redeterminations have to be done on a face-to-face. So we have to catch up with those face-to-face redeterminations for food stamps and TANF, where we have to have face-to-face contact.
And that's federal.
That's federal, and that's where I'm going to move that person into those spots.
So there's no exception to that rule throughout the United States.
Correct.
So was her position funded, the salary and everything funded through that grant?
Yes.
Then we're gonna take a look at that, Gina.
It was,
We're gonna take, because I'll tell you what, this is exactly the place we get stuck. They come out with a program, they fund it, they give you grants and they fund it, and you hire somebody, and then all of a sudden the grant vaporizes and you've got an employee that was funded by that grant to do a very specific thing, and now the funding's gone.
you warned me back in
Yes, I
October.
did.
You
Yes,
did,
I
and I
did.
learned a very valuable lesson. I really did, because what happens is when they decide not to fund it, like
Yeah,
you said,
exactly.
you're stuck.
Yep.
And it's just
So
ridiculous.
now you want to take this person and move her into the county's employment and,
Well, we already have the position already. It's an open position. So it's going to be, it's not going to take away
So you're
anything.
backfilling a position.
You're
that
backfilling
exists.
whatever.
it's not a new hire and it's not a new
No.
position.
No.
So you're letting the grant-funded position go, and you're backfilling a position.
Well, I think she
currently
can,
have.
I'm looking at her ability with her expertise with the EF program to kind of help the TANF worker that's working with these individuals anyway, to see what we can do for those people who come into our office and say, I need training, I need some work experience, et cetera. That person can still be used to help that TANF worker with that population. So it's not all lost, but it's,
Who did you have leave that you're backfilling this position with?
I can't remember who it was.
We need to.
I know what it was. We had a child support person who left, and that position became open because we had 3 employees with child support, and I found out that they only need to be having a caseload of 200 each, and they could manage it. So I wanted to shift that FTE into eligibility. That's what I'm doing. I'm kind of shifting the FTE around to best serve the needs of our community. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I had to look at the numbers of how many child support cases we had 4 child support. Remember I had asked for the 4th one? I don't know if you remember that. And then the numbers went down, and I looked at their caseload, and it seemed like it made sense to have them each have a caseload of 200 each, which they're able to manage. So I had 1 FTE that I could shift. That's what I'm doing. I'm being very transparent with you, but this what, to me, makes sense.
I just see our numbers in social services going up and up and up and up.
And it's going to be very hectic for our staff because we're going to have those face-to-face contacts. If the federal government says you no longer have waivers, we're going to have a lot of those appointments.
Then you tell the federal government to fund that.
It's above my pay grade, but anyway.
No, it's not.
I'm-
No, you're the head of that department, and if they're sending unfunded mandates to you, Gina, state or federal,
Yeah.
and they're not willing to bring the money to fund that, then we start saying no to that stuff.
Okay, it's a federally mandated program, they have to fund it. And my understanding with EF, it was an option for counties to have. It wasn't like you have to have the EF program. So I think John Baxter can speak to this. If it's federally mandated, it has to be federally funded, correct?
We don't necessarily have a mechanism to force them to do that.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen if you don't do it. I mean, I've got no objection to you not doing an unfunded program. The state has a specific statute that says they are not allowed.
They want you to get your
Right.
mic closer, right?
Oh.
They love your voice.
Right. So we don't have the same mechanism and authority with the U.S. as we do with the state of Colorado. So, no.
Well, I learned a very valuable lesson about the EF program, and I can tell you in the future, when they come with these nice programs and say, hey, why don't you incorporate it with your county, and it sounds good. In theory, it looks good. Conceptually, it sounds good. And I'm going to have to really look at those things that come across my desk the next time we have something like that. So I learned a lesson, and you guys warned me back when, in October.
So it didn't even last a year,
No,
basically.
no. And the state said that they were going to take their part on if we didn't do it. But the problem is, when the state took it on and they had a vendor, they didn't even budge with the EF program. They couldn't even handle it. They couldn't even manage it. So there was some issues even at the state level. And I've been looking at our numbers in terms of the homeless population. And I wanted to let you all know that in May, out of 2,188 food stamp assistant clients, 193 of these folks are reporting to social services that they're homeless.
Can you repeat that again?
A total of 2,188 folks who are on food stamps SNAP program, which is the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. 193 of those same folks are reporting to us that they're homeless. And I'm just astonished to find that out. Now, homeless can mean many things. Homeless can mean that a person can be couch surfing at a friend's house because they don't have a home. Or maybe they were kicked out of a home. You know, it's all kinds of descriptions. They're not people that you see in the park necessarily, but they're reporting homelessness. And out of 4 people in the TANF program, out of 75 active TANF families, we have 4 who are reporting homeless in that category. And we do serve the homeless. They do get their EBT cards. We have general delivery at the local post office because they don't have an address, so they have to go to the post office. I'm learning all this stuff, like I'm sure you guys knew about this. It's all like a new world to me. and they go to the local post office to get their EBT cards. If they don't get their EBT cards or they don't pick it up and their general delivery address is gone, they'll come into our office and come and get their EBT card. So that was all new to me. So, and I'm sure, I don't know if these numbers are going to go up, but I'll be certainly looking at the numbers of the homelessness. And we also had an issue that came to my attention from the Public Health Department, Karen Dixon, I think she's here, that we need to have transportation provided for those individuals who test positive for COVID-19 at the hospital, and they need to be transported either to a shelter or to a hotel. Right now, we don't have that type of service. I don't know if you all knew that or not. So I've contacted the state folks, Charlotte Olson, who's the state emergency manager. I've contacted Office of Behavioral Health. And supposedly there's a COVID-19 grant through the Office of Behavioral Health that can help with this, the funding of such resource. And there was a MAC group discussion last Friday with Jim Spratlin and all the partners that he's called in on that group. And Dr. Aiken spoke and gave me a tip for a resource in this county who I can call because they may be interested in providing that resource for the county. The problem is that we don't, social services doesn't have the equipment, the PPE, or the training, or this, it's not, it shouldn't fall on social services, but I was willing to find a resource for this county. And I think Shaq knows too, who I've been contacting at the state, because I think it's a much needed resource, because I don't know how you're going to get folks transported once they test COVID-19 and they don't have transportation, because a lot of folks in this county don't have transportation. I think we have to be proactive, because I don't know what's going to happen in the future with this whole resurge of COVID-19. I have no idea. So I think it's real important that we take notice of what's lacking in this community, and hopefully I can work with that resource in this area to provide that, because they may need a plexiglass between the front seat and the back seat installed in their vehicle, and they also need to be trained on how to sanitize their vehicle. So that's something I'm willing to work on, and I plan to do so.
Is this a county jurisdictional problem? Is this something that the county's responsible for?
I mean, the hospital's in the city, that's a very good point.
Yeah, how does the county get to be responsible for a municipality situation?
I think because it's countywide, I think
It's,
It seems
Well,
like,
what you're saying
I mean,
is-
certainly there's probably some need for it, but we're talking about a very insignificant
Yeah.
number here. I don't even think it'd probably be, I can't imagine it'd be worth applying for a grant to pay for, I mean, how many rides are we talking about that we need from the hospital to a hotel? I get it, there are some,
yeah.
but.
Yeah, we wouldn't be applying for a grant.
that.
The grant's already there. I just need to find a resource and work with Office of Behavioral Health and get those grant monies over here to provide that compensation to that resource person.
How big is the grant?
I didn't ask, but this,
Is it big enough to get us an autonomous car, then we don't need a driver?
Good job.
I think MoCo has vans that can be used for that. I think that MoCo would be
You could
the.
almost use a retired sheriff's vehicle that already has all that stuff in it.
Yeah.
Well, if they're released from the
Just has to be-
hospital, we've got electric
just
bikes.
Yeah.
well, I know there's a way, you know, I think there's possibilities. We just have to find the right resource and get the funding.
Yeah, the resource could be a taxi that's already set up for it.
And
The
that-
taxi won't
and,
transport
uh,
COVID-positive patients.
I have to say,
They know about.
Right.
that's not what Dr. Aiken has reported to me. Their tax Cortez cab may be a resource, and that's who I'm contacting. Because there's a person who says, well, if we were compensated and we had the plexiglass and also the training and funding, if they're funding them, why not?
Don't we already contract with Cortez Cab or give them money? I mean, I know we used to.
No,
we-
we use MoCo for all our social services transports.
I
We
feel
do
like
it in
there
here.
was also,
They're a
Oh,
provider.
that's because they were being repaid by Medicaid or Medicare?
Yeah, they're a provider through Medicaid, and our clients have non-emergent medical transportation provided by them, but we're not contracting with them.
Well, you just have to reach out and find out what your resources are
Yeah.
at this point in time, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
I either want an autonomous vehicle or I want Commissioner Sukla to start a rickshaw service. I don't care which I get.
that would be safer. Rickshaws are open air.
What is it?
I was going to say something, but I'll hold back on that one.
He'd been out in the sun too long. We still haven't did anything with our financials.
Oh, well, then I would move that we accept the financials for the Montezuma County Department of Social Services for May 2020 in the amount of 1.515 for 1.60.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the May 2020 financials for the Montezuma County Department of Social Services in the amount of $1,515,401.60. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you
Continue.
very much, and have a happy 4th.
You're full of good news, Gina. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have Public Health, Bobby Locke and Laura Schaefer. Oh, here,
I think just the chair.
Good morning. I thought we could start with the contract, if you want to get that out of the way first. This is our emergency preparedness contract that Karen does, and she's here to answer any specific questions about the scope of work. They have reduced our amount. It's actually a 4% reduction. It begins July 1 to June 30 of next year for $116,865. This is an amendment, number 2, to the original contract.
Bobby, did they say why they reduced that in our emergency preparedness? And this time, in these times, it seems like it should be going the other way, but this is state money?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I
Yeah.
understand now.
They have increased their indirect, so that comes off of everybody's budget.
Yeah.
Could you show the top of that? Oh, there, I've got it. I would move that the contract amendment number 2 with the Colorado Department of Public Health in the amount, let's see, it would be CT 2020 *261 Amendment 2 in the amount of $116,865 be approved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve a contract amendment number 2 from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment to the Montezuma County Public Health Agency in the amount of $116,865 even. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
No questions on it. All right. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Karen. Let's see. So next thing I thought I would mention is we currently have 3 positions open at the health department. One of them is our single entry point program. We have a case manager that is leaving us, so it would be replacing that position, totally funded. So that position, she will be leaving this month, next week, I think. So we're advertising for that. We are advertising for a communicable disease public health nurse in the middle of a pandemic. So we will see how that goes. And so that's open. And then our third position that is open is, you all probably know that Melissa Matthews is leaving. And
that's
her
sad.
last day would be the end of August. So we are hiring an environmental health specialist. And so that position is open. So that's what's going on internally as far as that goes. We also, this Thursday, we will be holding a community prevalence testing of COVID-19 same as what we did at the fairgrounds. We're going to hold it at the hospital, at the EMS building. So the same place the hospital does their testing on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which is diagnostic testing, because you have to have symptoms or a doctor's note to get a test for that. We're doing prevalence testing, no symptoms required, no doctor's note, no anything, free of charge. All you have to do is bring some sort of ID that you are who you are. So, same thing we did at the fairgrounds. So, that is from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. We are partnering with the hospital because some of their swabbers, or who's going to do the swabbing part. We will be training 1, possibly 2 of our staff to be swabbers. And that is our plan for this Thursday. We are going to offer it every other week. We may switch it to a Tuesday instead of a Thursday, simply because when results come back, trying to avoid the results coming in on a weekend. So, but we're going to wait and see what kind of support we can get from the staff that's helping us do this at the hospital. So,
Bobby, do the
yes.
tests get done at our hospital? Do they get to?
No,
know
this
they're-
is the same as what we did at the fairgrounds. We got the swabs from the state. We will send them couriered up to the state. They, within 48 hours max, we were getting results from the state, because the state lab is staying on top of the testing right now. And they notified all the negatives via phone call, which was super helpful for us. And then we, of course, notified all the positives and worked with the positive. So that'll be the same plan, same plan this time. So that's happening Thursday. This will be our first time holding it over at the EMS barn. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about, and then we can talk more about the finances. This is one of the grants that we received. Some of our employees that, have been assisting with COVID, we had 2 people work on writing for this grant. It was the Colorado COVID Relief Fund, and we applied for $25,000. And we received $25,000, and that is going to be used to connect local farmers to community members, supporting both families in need of food access and local farmers with income security due to the economic impact that COVID has had on everybody. So we did receive that, we were very excited about that. We actually received the check for it. Do you have any questions about anything I said? And then I'm going to get Laurel up here, and she's going to talk about more of the funding pieces that we have received. Any questions?
My questions were more for Laurel.
Okay.
Because of the funding pieces of a
additional
meeting that we had yesterday.
Right.
Which she's
Okay.
probably somewhat ready.
Yeah.
Because I asked her a lot of questions yesterday.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So do you want me to just kind of recap what?
If you would, and this is following a CCI Western District meeting that we had yesterday after you had to leave, this came up. Yeah, so this was all part of the CARES Act funding, and part of that $250,000 that we're supposed to be receiving as the base, and then up to the $440,000 if I'm correct. But there's a lot of, anyway, I'm gonna let her explain it because she can probably do a lot better job than I can.
So we initially, when all of this hit in March, CDPHE, basically they don't fund us enough with that communicable disease nurse that we have to handle this, and they know that. So they gave us some money to do this COVID work, this case tracing, contract tracing, all of that case management. That was $47,860. We have about 16.4 of that left, and we know that was going to go up, once we did that doesn't include the time spent at the fairgrounds with the staff and all of that. So we know that this is going to go away pretty quickly. So then they gave us the 250 base, 250,000 base.
And let me make one other point too. So through this discussion, unless we're not being told something, this has to be developed over a 30-month period of time.
Yep.
So the way I look at it is they're either not telling us something that they know or we don't know, but this all has to be developed over 30 months, which is 2.5 years.
That's a lot, yeah.
So
they're giving us a scope of work and everything. So once these initial discussions on this funding started, they realized that that they're going to make it longer, so 30 months, and that there needs to be a scope of work attached to it. So in the meantime, a lot of the public health departments, we can't continue to do this work without some proper funding. So they, in turn, as of Friday, supposedly have given us another half of $55,000 to continue this work. And that basically pays our nurses and their time to do all of these contract tracing and case management. So then, apparently, then and I'll believe that all of this when I see it, we'll be getting the 400, which is the 250,000 base that every county across the state received, and then the rest was per capita. And that is going to be 30 monthly payments. So, which was kind of a issue with some of the people on these calls, because if we surge, we need to be able to access that money if we end up having to have, who knows, 5, 6, 7, 8 case tracers doing this work. So that's still not all in stone, but we're making it with what we've been received. We're not doing anything that we're not funded to do. So that's about all I have about this. Does anybody have any questions? And we just got the scope of work yesterday, so we're reading through that to see how we feel about that, and every public health is doing that. So
I think that was one of the biggest takeaways yesterday from listening to the commissioners in that western region from their public health department, is here again, this is just more. We were told Friday night, we get it Monday, it's supposed to be implemented, we don't have any funding for it, and everybody is super frustrated because we're running and we're never getting caught up, and then it changes.
Yeah, it just
the
changed
next
Friday.
day, and it's like, holy cow.
Yeah, it just changed Friday, and we got
So-
notice yesterday.
And you
So-
get executive orders every afternoon.
Yeah.
Every afternoon. It's ridiculous.
Well, then on top of that, we're trying to figure out how the protect our neighbor phase is going to work.
Yeah.
And that's another sore spot with everybody, because my understanding is at this point, it's an application process. And so we'll see.
Anyway, keep it up. I appreciate you bringing me kind of up to speed with what you know, because I was somewhat.
It's confusing.
It's real
you know,
confusing,
and
especially when we're talking, on one of those types of meetings.
Right.
Other than there's a lot of frustration on the
Right.
whole western part,
So-
the whole western part of the district.
Yeah.
So I would like for you to talk about the governor's last executive order
I can do my
pertaining to
best.
government buildings.
Pertaining to government buildings, I've helped the movie theater and I've helped some sports people, but I haven't had time to read it, the entire thing, so.
Bobby, do you?
I haven't read it either.
Yeah, we just got it yesterday.
It'll change tomorrow.
Well, it's going to change July 1st, I believe.
Correct.
Are you talking about the governor's order or their public health order?
Public health
Which
order?
one are you talking
Oh,
about?
I think it was I thought it was the governor's order that came out on Friday or Saturday, maybe it was on Saturday. It's the governor's executive order, D 2020-110.
And pertaining
I'm just gonna
to,
Yeah, I have not.
So,
read,
yeah,
but
it came out this
focused
weekend,
on
and
public health order.
I'm actually just learning about it, but what one of the other county attorneys just sent it to me. It's an order from the governor that orders CDPHE
Right.
to issue an order.
right,
And that's
and we
where
just
the
got ours
public health
yesterday.
order is more
Yes.
specific.
Yesterday.
And that's typically how it happens. The executive order comes out, and then he just states that CDPHE is gonna come out with more specific information, and you need to follow that. That's the way it's been since this started, and so that public health order, we got a summary of what changes were made, because it's another 47-page document. So, the changes highlight, they compare it to the old to the new, rather than us sitting there and reading, I've only made it through halfway down the bullet points, so I can't, I tried to get through it yesterday, I did not complete it, so I can't, I didn't get to the part that talks about government buildings, obviously, so,
But we can get back to you.
Well, I happen to know a lot
Yeah.
about it
Totally.
because I have been in contact with about 18 counties And I'll enlighten you with what the lawyer for Weld County put out. Be advised that the governor does not have the legal authority to exercise administrative control over Weld County employees and county buildings. Uh-oh, hold on just a second. Got a little gun happy. Nor does he have the legal authority to regulate in what manner county employees interact with members of the public. All Weld County employees requesting masks have been or will be issued 2 or more cloth masks and may, if they desire, wear them at work or when dealing with members of the public. Members of the public may wear masks when they enter county buildings and deal with county employees. However, the Board of Commissioners is requiring neither of these scenarios. So the question was raised, well, how does the governor have authority to do this? And I love, with one of the commissioners in one of the counties, not Weld County, but does the governor have the authority to close one of our county roads? So I'm asking our attorney, does the governor have the authority to close Road M in Montezuma County?
So I think arbitrarily, no. If there's some sort of emergency, my guess is, I'd have to look at it in specific context with the road. My guess is he'd be able to get away with it in an emergency situation, but I'd want to look at that, particularly to examine whether or not he can close a road in an emergency situation. This order is ordering CDPHE to do something. You know, what's the separation of powers there? None. The governor appoints, I think that's how it works, that the governor appoints the executive director of CDPHE, kind of like we appoint the director of health. And so CDPHE is statutorily authorized to make health orders.
Right.
Road orders? Probably not.
I don't
Probably
know
not.
about road orders.
Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is one topic that and I can name off the ones so far, they bring up lawyers. So they bring up, there is some counties that they're saying, well, you know, our lawyer is telling us that, you know, maybe we better go along with this. And then the response is, by multiple commissioners, is, well, you got a weak lawyer. You need to talk to my lawyer. And so Rio Blanco County will not comply to this order. Weld County will not comply to this order. Powers County will not comply to this order. Douglas County will not comply to this order. And I can go on and on. El Paso County is not going to comply to this order, about how many counties. And I think we're at the point with this last executive order where we're going to find out if the governor can close a road in Montezuma County or not. Because this commissioner, I don't care if you walk in there fully in a spacesuit through that door, or if you walk in there in some gym shorts, as long as I could care less. And I've had it with the king. So I will not, as a county commissioner, require you to comply with this stupid, idiotic order about these masks. It's absolutely ridiculous. We have 13 positive cases in Montezuma County, and we're walking around like a bunch of idiots. So if you want to wear the mask, you wear the mask. If you don't want to wear the mask, that's up to you. And don't tell anybody different. You can do what you want and let the other people do what they want.
I wear my mask if I want to wear my mask.
That's right.
In my own building.
That's right. And then you have that right.
And we have that right, and we know that.
That's right.
I choose to.
Yeah. That's right. It's a choice.
Yep.
It's not an executive order. He can't close. He can't tell us what to do on our roads, and he can't tell us what to do. We are the governing body in this county, as well as all of those county commissioners in those other counties. And they are putting their foot down, and we're going to find out who's right and who's wrong. Thank you.
Yeah. So,
Do you have that contract?
I got it.
Oh,
Kim gave it back to me.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have Veteran Services, Rick Torres.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Morning, Rick.
Sounds like we got Montezuma County Autonomous Zone.
No, we're an urban area.
Yeah, see how that's doing up in Seattle.
Hey, it's
would you?
working
Yeah,
up there.
See how they're doing up there. Yeah, I don't think it's working so well.
You guys set up 4 to 5.
I think it's not doing so well.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rick. We'll go ahead and take care of this right away.
Thank you.
I'd move that we accept the Colorado Department of Military and Veterans Affairs certification of pay in the amount of $10,925.43 for the month of May.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the Colorado Department of Military Veterans Affairs monthly report and certification of pay for the month of May 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners. Go ahead and grab that from you when you're ready.
There you go, Rick.
Alrighty, you have in front of, or on the screen, my monthly report for the month of May, our activity. I would like to begin by showing you how we did in May, the year prior. So in May of 2019, when the virus didn't exist, we saw 218 people come through our office. When you look at May of this year, we had 72, so it's a drastic drop of 146 people. I believe the month of April, we reported like 21 or 23 people. So in April 21 to 23 folks, last month it bumped up to 72. I don't know where we're at right now for the month. We're averaging about 4 or 5 people a day for each of us, for myself and for Sarah. So I hope to see a little bit higher number than 72 during the month of June. We'll see what happens. Although last month we did have 5 new clients. As I reported to you that La Plata County is in the process of hiring a service officer over there. The gentleman over there retired, Rich Leader. So I have quite a few clients coming over from them. We keep their files separately, electronically, and we're having some good success in helping some of their veterans and their widows, particularly their widows. Last month, again, I did no nursing home visits. There was 2 outreach events. Some of these events are, and community events are digital, like camera interview, yeah. So they're not necessarily, or phone interviews or something. They're not necessarily in person. Last month we continued to, work on claims. We filed 18 claims. We were notified of 9 claims that were granted. Obviously, those 9 claims were old. They're from probably last year. Of those 9 claims, 8 were favorable to our clients. 1 was unfavorable, and there was none that were confirmed to continued, which means they remained the same, neither up nor down claims. In May of last month, those 8 clients received a combined total of $14,321 new benefits per month. If I did my math right, that'll be a little over $171,000 per year. Those 8 individuals received $119,000 and some change in back pay. When you look at the year to date, January through May of this year, everyone that's won claims, if I put them all together, it's a little over $55,000 a month, a little over $667,000 a year, and back pay just under $300,000 in retro payments. So even though the virus seems to have slowed things down, we're still banging out claims, whether they're on the phone, through secure encrypted emails. So when these folks want their benefits, we figure out a way to, and they figure out a way to apply. So we're still doing good there. I'll leave you with a couple of, one success story I did annotate, and one is just informational that's not on the sheet. And I think I may have mentioned this offline at one of our meetings when we had supervisor meetings with the commissioners. But anyway, I got here in 2013. There was a claim that a veteran had that was denied in 2014. It was not a claim that I did. The veteran did the claim on his own before I got here. We did help him with the appeal process to beef up the case. It eventually ended up going to a law judge outside the VA. And to make a long story short, the law judge did grant the veteran the claim. It was for a physical injury, and the veteran was paid $91,000 in back pay, tax-free, going back to when he filed his appeal. So that's a nice success story there. I mean, there's a couple of other ones from La Plata County, a couple of widows we've been able to help out. One of them in particular, we found a glitch or an error that the VA made, quickly tidied up the claim. It was not a claim I did. It was a claim that they had done on their own. So we tidied it up, told the VA exactly what part of the law they need to follow, and I think it was within 14 days it was granted. So we're excited for that widow, that she's getting her benefits. And the last thing I want to leave you with, for information purposes only, I did receive an email after I prepared this report. It's from Dean Palmquist at the City of Cortez. What they're looking at doing is the Veterans Park sign. Eventually, they ended up taking the plastic off of it. You know, people take the plastic off, so they just left it off. But they're looking at doing a dedication service July 4th, which is Saturday. When they do finalize, if they do finalize it, and whatever protocols they're going to have for the public, I will go ahead and put it on my county Facebook, and I'll also forward it to Shaq, and then he can put it out to all the county employees and everybody that wants to go and watch the sign dedication. So with that said, you know, we're still in the fight. We're going to continue to do our claims, help our veterans, our widows, and that's all we can do. Any questions?
No.
Nope.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's
Rick.
nice to see your numbers starting to come up.
Yeah, they're slowly creeping up,
yeah.
you know. And the VA healthcare system, they're doing healthcare, but by telehealth. Phones, telehealth, video conference with the patients.
How
So,
are they liking that?
You know, I haven't really asked the vets how they're liking it. I've been doing it for years, and I don't have a problem with it. I think if anything, folks that are not used to doing a telephone or a video conference, you know, and navigating technology might struggle with it. But most of them are also doing them by phone. I mean, I did mine in May, and it was a telephone interview. And the doctor has everything digital on you. She knows what, you know, what your past history is, what your blood level, what is it, your cholesterol and all that nonsense. So she just guides you over the phone. So, and
Some of those work well over the phone. I'm sure there's some that don't work too well.
yes, you know, and I went over to, I think it was Mercy Regional for specialty care. You know, the doctor wanted me to check out something. And so I went in there, they do your temperature, they put a little decal on your chest, you walk in, everybody sees your temperature is normal. And, you know, they had the what do you call it, alcohol and all this stuff. So, I mean, people are slowly getting back to normal. But I think the VA is being a little more cautious. So,
I was just curious because the telehealth would stop a lot of transportation that a lot of these guys are having to travel for, which
Right.
would be, I mean, unless they physically need to view something.
right, for specialty care.
it would
I think
be,
what's going to end up
a lot
happening is, as a result of this, many people are going to choose to start doing telehealth. It's more convenient. So,
The only downside I would say to that, because I'm just thinking of my father in particular, but that can also be a bad thing in the
Sure.
other direction is if you have somebody that actually wants to see the doctor, if they got a problem that they need to physically see, you might have a doctor that uses that as an excuse not to see them when the best, or the thing that should happen is actually they physically see them.
true.
So
Yeah, it's a
it can go
double-edged
both
sword.
ways.
Yeah, it is.
If you're otherwise healthy, which I like to consider
Yeah.
myself as otherwise healthy, usually I don't have a problem. When I've done telehealth, the nurse is in there with you. The doctor in Grand Junction listens to your heart, your lungs, and then when you're ready for the interview, what else? Well, the nurse does all the vitals, but the doctor can actually listen to your heart and your lungs. Then the nurse steps out, and then you have your meeting with the doctor. But if you have a lot of health issues, well, yeah, I'd want to go to see the doctor in person and myself. And
Well, thank you for a great presentation. Appreciate it, Rick.
thank you all. Have a good rest of your month.
And then we
Thanks, Rick.
have Jonathan Parker, which is the Senior Nutrition Director, coming up to give us his monthly report. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just a couple of brief things. So one of the things I want to talk about is kind of our reopening plan for the center. You know, we had a lot of people with the COVID, you know, we had to shut down for the on-site meals. So we had a lot
Jonathan, you
more
might have to
people.
put
I'm sorry.
that-
So we had a lot more folks getting the home-delivered meals. But we're going to slowly start to transition out of that because we have quite a few people that are on the program that technically don't qualify, but because things were relaxed. So going forward, I'm going to be working on a kind of a reopening plan, you know, that meets the health guidelines, the restaurant guidelines. So our kind of, the initial thought is talking with staff is we're going to kind of shoot for July, kind of mid-July, and maybe do an outside 1 or 2 days a week over at the Legion because we're still at the Legion. So we want to do that. And then going forward, once the kitchen is done and we're back at the building, see how that works as far as moving in, mistakes we made, things we can improve upon. So that's kind of the thought as far as reopening and getting seniors back on. We're starting to see more seniors stop by and visit, or questioning when we're going to get back for meals, and we understand they want to get back together. So that's kind of our initial target was August, but we think we can start at the Legion doing some outside meals, lunch meals. It probably won't be 4 days a week, but at least we'll do a couple days a week to get folks back on board. And that helps us also, again, transition folks away from the frozen meal programs, the extra. We went from about 43 home delivered to about 105. So lots of deliveries, and again, some of those folks, there's plenty of food. One of the things we found is there's not a shortage of food for folks. You know, a lot of it was the fear, not going out, they're told to stay home, that kind of stuff. And some people absolutely have the resources, so we'll staff clients that are in the program and kind of wean them off slowly. So that's kind of our process going forward. Hope is by towards the third week of July, we'll start to have some meals at the Legion, and then once the remodel's done, we're back at the center, back over there. So that's the thought with that. Any questions on that?
How's your remodel going?
It's going. So the floor is done. Most of the plumbing is done. We had a few pieces that weren't shipped with the original stuff, like a faucet for the mop sink basin. That's all in. I don't know what the final timeline is. I've been told kind of July, mid-July it should be completed. And we hope it is. It should be. It hasn't moved super fast, I'll say that, but the flooring is done and the plumbing is done, and from there I don't really know what the plan is as far as equipment. Everything's in, the equipment's in, it's ready to go whenever so, and I don't know how that lays out as far as the floor having to set and harden, all that kind of stuff, the plumbing. I don't know how any of that really works, but they do still have time. We're not in a major hurry to get back over there. The Legion's working out fine. If we need to be there through the end of July, that works out for us too. We're okay with that. So Legion's okay. We speak with them frequently, and the facility works good over there. So really no issues as far as time goes. And then thirdly, and this is something that when I first came on back in December or January of 2018, 19, we had a couple of vehicles from, I'm not sure the motor pool or where they came from, but I have thought all along we really needed our own kind of a transportation van of some sort. And especially as we developed an activity program and taking the seniors out on trips and stuff. And this isn't to suggest MOCO isn't good, because our needs are always met with MOCO. But at the same time, we think it's a good idea. And when I first came on, I'm not sure if it was Sue or someone else had mentioned the idea of working with CDOT, with MOCO, and trying to obtain a vehicle, because they have an 80-20 grant situation, where it's 80% funded by the state, 20% by the purchaser. And it's been one of those things in the back of my mind, like a few other things for the program. For us right now, it's a pretty good time financially. I know other programs aren't the same, but for us, it's a very good time fiscally. I haven't done real strict numbers. This is just something that, one of those things that this is maybe the time to address. I talked with Jennifer from MOCO about the idea of the program. She looked into it. And I haven't really done a complete budget analysis to see what we could afford. Can we afford it? But it's something we want to look forward. We want to look at here real shortly and see if it is something we can get for the program.
So Jennifer's actually here. She's next on the agenda. Do you have anything to add to that, Jennifer?
Actually, I can add a few things to that too, because I was actually at the advisory board committee meeting with them on the 18th, and this was actually discussed. Some of the bigger concerns, and correct me if I'm wrong, that some of so this was going to be used for field trips and
if we need to deliver meals, if
meal
it's
delivery,
a little bit of everything, in other words.
So the concerns that were had that day are loss of ridership for MOCO right now because of where they're at. I mean, they're down quite a few rides. So is it going to take away from that, and the funding still comes from CDOT, correct?
Yes.
And then we're looking at possibly almost a $70,000 van.
That's
Or-
what they
or
run,
depending on-
65 to 70, depending on
on
what's going on.
what we purchased. So there were concerns there of how much is this van going to get used? Is it just another $70,000 van that sits there for you know,
28%
28
of
days
the
out of
time.
the month or something like
No,
that. But, so
absolutely.
I had concern of, that's a lot of money, and what are we taking away from MoCo, the riderships that we already have, and the buses that we already have? So I'll let you go ahead and, if I didn't kind of get everything
Yeah,
there.
that was the concern I think you had, and, I mean, it's a little bit with me too, just because, like I said, the ridership is down, but I did talk to CDOT, and they said it was possible for him, if he decided, or you guys decided that it was okay to go through our program to actually get the grant. Obviously, it would be titled in his name, and he would have to come up with the 20%, but we can do it through us versus him having to do his own, you know, account or DUNS number and all that stuff.
And is that what you were thinking?
For the CDOT grant, yes, the 80/20, there was never a notion or an inkling, or even in our brief discussions with Jennifer, that the thought would be to take away clients from MoCo. In fact, just the opposite. Part of the reason to address this now, in a sense, was our numbers are high. We think we're going to see an expansion of the program for home delivered meals, because many people that are on it will qualify. So we are going to have more routes regardless. The flip side was, we had gotten word from MoCo that their pickups are going to start to, their client numbers are going to go up because Pinion Project, opening hospital, those sorts of things. So the concern was, it's not a matter of taking clients from them. Actually, we felt more like we were being a burden, which we didn't want to be, or pull from other, because we typically have to find out, is it available? Now, through COVID, it's been different just because of the shutdown in Pinion Project and other places. So the word we received has been different, that we won't have another. I think we get 2 drivers from MoCo. We're going to lose one of those. Are we going to lose both for the home delivered routes? Those sorts of things. So that's, to address that issue, it was never about, we won't be doing transportation for typical public individuals who need a ride. That's not about that. It's specifically for seniors. We also have 3 sites. We have Mancos, Dolores, and of course Cortez.
So that brings up a question. Do you know of a lot of other senior centers in different counties that have their transportation and doing what you're talking about?
Actually, I've never seen a site without their own vehicle.
Good answer.
It's just more typical that they do have their own for all sorts of purposes, but it was never, the idea was to compete, or
So then,
we don't
does
see that happening.
require a new driver, I mean, because it doesn't, I mean, these are what?
Not if you get the autonomous vehicle I spoke about earlier.
Passenger, I'm not even listening to you, Shaq.
Well, I think this situation been brought to the forefront since we have split MoCo, and MoCo's now out at our county yard. Back when MoCo was tied to the AAA, they were housed in the same building, all the vehicles were parked there. So senior services could have taken one of the vans. I mean, they were readily accessible to senior services for almost anything. Now that we have this division, and all those vehicles are located out at the county shop property out on Highway 145, it's not so readily available and easy for them to have access to those vehicles, which I think they did in the past. And MoCo was run right out of the senior services, and so we've got a division here, and so Jonathan may be right, and I think it'll behoove Jennifer to see how much her ridership keeps increasing, and where that burden, if there is a burden, put on her and her drivers and her vehicles to accommodate AAA and the senior home delivered meals if they need it, whatever. If that becomes a place where she's having to deny rides to people, or say, I'm sorry, I'm already committed to.
And I'm not allowed to do that, actually.
You're not?
No.
Okay.
The
Riders come first.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
So-
that's why
So then
we-
that can put you in a bind if you don't have the volunteers and stuff to do your
And that's
HDMs.
been part of it. We do have the staff and the volunteers. It's really been about, we're not a priority, which is totally understandable.
Yeah.
That's not the issue. It's can we get the vehicle on this date? Are we able to do this? Can you do the meal? I mean, it's been a heavy burden on them, and we appreciate everything MoCo has done. It's not about that. We could use a vehicle, and it would be good for the program. It would be used. I don't think it would sit there 28 days a month. Honestly, I do not. But I just don't see where we would have the only potential cross-client is, We are slowly implementing a program to do some shopping. I brought it up last month. We're not so much shopping, but the picking up of groceries for people where they call it in, the groceries, and we go pick it up. If they use MOCO, that's fine, but if they call us, then we can do that too. But that's just really a small piece of the idea of having a vehicle. It's really several factors together.
And that's getting people more and more. We've done that. It's like a surprise package because you never know what they're going to come back with.
Well, I won't say nothing about what my staff may pick up for them. Probably more than a few surprises.
Well, I think, Jonathan, if CDOT's willing, if you're able to work this through your program, the 80-20 cost share, and you can come up with a 20% of it through AAA or however you get funded, and you may find some funds in AAA. There may be some transportation funds and through AAA to help you as well.
Well, and just this is not an urgency right now either, because if I wrote my numbers down correctly, you're only at 40 to 45 rides a day right now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Which
so
is
basically, the home
significantly
delivered meals is supplementing us right
helping
now.
you out.
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because
I
we're
would say,
doing-
if you want to try to put together some kind of a plan that we can review as we go forward to see what this ridership does, because at that many rides a day,
There's plenty of
we've
availability.
got a
Yeah.
lot of availability
Right.
that I would hate to see us purchasing something else.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying to plan for it, but
Understood.
we're way low on those 40 to 45 rides a day. So those are correct numbers.
Yeah.
And
So-
this was initial discussions, Commissioner, really it did just kind of pop forward and when Jennifer and I spoke about this a few times. So it wasn't an urgent or a pressing need, but the concern was, from my perspective, what I was hearing is this potentially gets more troublesome down the road, whether that's fall time or when that is. And I mean, I can't predict that sort of thing, but anyway, so that was, I just wanted to bring it to the, and we do have the funds. Several of the grants that we've received, I think we've gotten 5 or 6 apart from the extra money from AAA, so they're all been discretionary. So fiscally, again, once I do the numbers, I'll have a good picture, but just off the top of I know where we're at, so.
And I would encourage you to take a look, since we're going to have a charging station and stuff there right at your facility, take a look and see if you might be able to locate an electric vehicle that might.
Well, I've heard
accommodate
Tesla
you.
makes this truck that.
Well, there's actually
So does
grants.
Ford. There are a lot of places out there. I think you're going to find that's going to be a real.
And I think that was
feasible
part of
thing.
the thought too, is maybe if
Sure,
there's
we'll have a
absolutely.
free charging
There are
station.
grants for electric vehicles, however, you have to go, you can't just go anywhere. You pretty much have to get what CDOT has contracted.
Sure.
Unless you can find it for cheaper,
Mhm.
which usually isn't.
In the case.
All right, well, let's move on
Okay.
forward.
Yeah.
What else do you have, John?
That's it. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
that's it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Well, why don't you just stay right here then, Jennifer, and give
Thank
us
you,
your.
Jonathan.
Commissioner.
Thank you, we
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks,
it.
Jonathan.
Good job on running the senior.
Get on that contractor. Tell him we want that kitchen done.
I'll do it.
Yeah, tell him you want it done.
Okay.
Good morning. I don't have a whole lot to report. We just talked about most of what I was going to talk about. Rides are starting to climb, 40 to 45 a day from 8. So
It's moving the right
we
direction.
did, we
But
did
Before the COVID epidemic, do you have a number?
65, 70.
65, 70, okay.
Yeah, so we're down. We were down a lot more, but we're starting to come up. As far as the Meals on Wheels, we were giving them 2 drivers. We only given them 1 now because we are picking up. However, they gave both routes to the 1 person I send. So we're still getting the same amount of meals delivered. It's just one person doing it, yeah. But other than that, we're doing, as well as can be expected, and things open up, and we're doing a lot of Durango trips because that's kind of our bread and butter. We're doing up to 2 a day now, just to kind of compensate for not having the local rides as much, so, but.
And then what
the-
about you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I was going to say, the other thing that I was going to bring, which was part of my report, but I'll just do it now, is that you're still down the 1 driver,
Yes,
but we're waiting to hire another one obviously until the ridership picks up. because
right,
No need to now.
There's no
No.
need, there's not enough.
right.
demand.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything with that until, and I have a driver that may come back in September. She does summer work for herself. She works for herself and she does summer work, so she may come back. If she doesn't, then I just need to hire somebody else. So, but that won't be until, like you said, until we start picking up a little more, because we're doing okay right now.
And then the other thing is the exploration of the bike racks for the buses.
Yes, yeah. I still need to look into some different, because those were, the bike racks I looked at were 3,000 and some change, and we talked about it at the meeting that we're going to try to see if we can't find them for a little cheaper. But I'd like to have them because there are people that we have that have bikes, and fitting them onto the, into the vehicle is cumbersome, so.
3,000, you should walk over to Cocapelli, I bet you can find a better deal than that.
Well, they have to be pretty sturdy. They have to, and they have to fit on the buses
Well, I
that we
can
have.
tell you what,
But
the bike rack that I have that fits a $3,000 bike is pretty damn sturdy, because I'm not gonna buy one that went.
I can look.
So
Look.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
like I said, we talked about it at the meeting. I'm going to look around and see if I can't find something cheaper.
I got mine at no cost, like $2 at the landfill upcycle store.
He did.
They both seem.
That is a true story.
I mean,
still.
if you've got one.
So,
But-
also, I don't know what the VOTEX schedule for reopening is, but if you haven't got one by fall, I'm sure their welding program could use a project and just build one for you.
That's a good idea.
So my question is you was talking about working on designated stops.
Yes.
Throughout the city.
Yes.
And
I actually
the
just applied for that grant. I won't know anything for a few weeks. But hopefully we will get that because we have to do feasibility studies. We have to, because they have to be approved. Once you start getting into a fixed route like that, you have to be ADA approved. So there's studies you have to do and things you have to go through. So that's in the
Do
works.
you have any
still.
ideas like where you would put them?
Well, I definitely want to do Walmart, City Market, the basics, Safeway. I'd like to also do maybe one to the hospital.
Yeah, we were going to bring that up. But we had a question or
Yeah,
discussion about that earlier.
Yeah, I heard that. I've talked to the health department about that. I'm sure it's what you're talking about, the COVID-19. I've actually talked to the health department and social services, and I don't know if I'd mind doing it if my drivers weren't all over 60.
I see.
And that's the only drawback I have. I don't have any that are not in that vulnerable category right now. If I did find somebody that was younger and maybe, as long as they supplied the PPE on both ends for the driver and the client, and, paid for them and however they want to do that, and maybe put some plexiglass in one of my vans and show us how to properly clean it, then I might be on board with that. But right now, my drivers are in that category, and I don't know if they'd, be up
Right,
to doing that.
that's understandable.
So, but in the future, who knows? Like I said, if I hire somebody but by then, who knows what's going to happen too, so,
Frequency is awfully light.
Right. Well, in the health department and the social services didn't have a number. They didn't know.
They don't have, yeah.
Right, so.
Well, I got a number. My sister-in-law was the first COVID positive patient in Montezuma County. She was quarantined for 14 days with her husband and her son. She slept in the same bed with her husband 14 days. She hugged her son every morning. And at the end of the 14 days, they all test negative.
Well, that's awesome.
They never got the disease. So this disease is going to kill us all.
Yeah.
Anything else, Commissioner?
I have nothing.
Nope.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks, Jennifer.
All right, we have Greg Felson, the CSU Extension Agent for Montezuma County.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Greg. How are you? Oh, thank you.
Morning, sir.
Well, wonderful. I just want to start out on a personal note today and let everyone know that starting Thursday, I will be a Montezuma County resident that I'm very excited about. I've bought a home here, and so I will be investing in the community, obviously some good economic investment early on, and look forward to years and years as your CSU representative. So there's my card. I put my cell phone on the back. Give me a call. If you have any questions or anything, or you want to meet for a soda pop or a drink or something like that, I'll be your neighbor and looking forward to making Montezuma County thrive in all directions of it.
That's good news.
You
So-
do realize that Montezuma County supports the Denver Broncos?
I was just gonna say, Shaq let me know that I need a different rag on here.
I told him that if CSU can't provide him with enough money to buy any better rags than that,
Yeah.
he needs to go up the chain and ask for a raise from those people.
No, Bills are looking good. We'll see.
I've
We're supposed to
noticed
play the Broncos in Denver
I've
this
noticed
year.
it
We'll see.
twice now, so I was just gonna make sure.
Just
Since you're a
understood that.
resident,
Yeah.
Now I should bring
I
it to your
gotcha.
attention.
That's good to understand. Yeah, where I'm at. No, great. And then I wanted to move on to our office logistics. Probably already know, however, horticulturist Tom Hooten will be retiring next week, 7/3, the official date. And so he'll be leaving the office and his time with CSU Extension in Montezuma County. Also, last week, our admin assistant, Kathy Harris, has transferred over to the Road and Bridge Department, so that leaves us a little short-staffed. I've worked with Shaq, and we have figured out, under our budget that was already allocated for us, that we are going to do 2 interns. We usually get 1 intern during this sort of busy time of our year. But with starting a little bit later and the cost savings onto that, we're going to have 2 interns that will obviously focus on CSU Extension, a little bit work outside of the 4-H program, but really focusing on the county fair coming up and splitting that position with Fair Board and Extension so that we get through this summer, end of July, in good hands. And then I'll work with Shaq and the weeds department that's located in our office to work on that next admin assistant and what that's going to look like. So if you hear me answering the phones, that's what we got to do, and I'll be doing it on to that end. Next up is our advisory committee next Tuesday night, June 30th at 7 p.m. in the Extension office. If anybody would like to come, we will be having a face-to-face meeting at that time. And that'll be a good opportunity for me to meet some people that I have not met yet. That should be good community partners for Extension and the county moving forward. And then just to update people sort of on what we're doing, but then also sort of the craziness that's been a lot of our lives in the last 4 months. On to that. And then that brings us to County Fair. Thank you, Commissioner Tell, for joining our meeting last Monday night. And I think we worked through a lot of great stuff. And then Commissioner Sukala, you asked on things, on those guidelines and everything. So that was sent down, Friday or something like that. And then I've met with Shaq and us looking at that, and then CSU Extension of really opening up that limit to 125 per activity really gives us a little bit more flexibility. For events, it'd be great if we got closer to protect your neighbor, or whatever they call it for that next phase, opens that up even more onto that. So we'll be looking at that closely. However, I'm meeting 5:30 today with the Fair Board as well too, to continue planning purposes around the county fair. Of what all that, taking on the open class and general projects. I'm pretty impressed. I got on the phone and we're down to a few more judges I just need to get to have that section already taken care of. And the gentleman from Texas, I believe, that does the large animal livestock, who was our judge last year, will be coming out again. And so I was able to make contact with him. And so, it's a big puzzle piece, and we're putting that puzzle together, and just happy that we'll be able to support specifically our 4-H youth with an opportunity this summer. With that, I'm just going to open it up for questions and see if anybody has anything.
Was that number 125 or was that 175?
Was it 175? I get them confused. Yeah, 125 or was it 175?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's.
Greg, I had a question.
Sure.
How does CSU plan to attack the position when Tom Hooten vacates his position now? how will CSU approach getting that second
Right.
agent in
So-
our office?
Great question, Commissioner. Where I work with CJ Mucklow, our regional director, is the first one, and then that goes up on a campus level. Personally, I have a lot of experience in the farming horticultural realm, so looking to, and already working with our local Colorado Master Gardeners on the different demonstration gardens that they're allowed to go out to, the Grow and Give program. I feel comfortable taking on the Master Gardener program and sort of that horticultural end with relying on my colleagues, Darren Parmenter in La Plata County and Gus Westerman a little bit up in Dolores County. We seem to work very well together to handle that end of it. I know there was a memorandum of understanding. I saw it, the signed document Shaq gave me first day I was on the job, around if we will work towards a family and consumer science agent. I think with budgeting and all of that, I'm still asking them, when are we getting this funding? How does that handle onto that? And from their end, they didn't do too bad on, well, everyone's doing pretty, but preparing for budgets for next year and all of that, I was told that we're high on the priority for that. So I'll keep moving towards that in the sense that maybe next year we would have that second position, or by the end of this year. We'll see how that goes, but I'll keep you updated on that.
Okay, thank
Yep.
you very much.
Any other questions? Good job.
Oh, good.
Glad
Yeah,
you're
we are.
glad you're
Wonderful.
counting.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited. A lot of moving this week and all of that. I'll be ready for that to be done, but I'll be glad to be a walk away from here if
You
I need
bet.
be. Onto that. You guys have a great day.
Great.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Let's go to the Sheriff Annex 3 roof bid award. Shaq, or does somebody have the, oh,
Right, here we are. There you are, Commissioner.
so, wow, it looks like we've got 4 bids.
Need a pocket knife?
I'll open them.
Okay.
We'll bring them back together, I can read them and we'll.
I need a knife. You need a knife, you got a knife?
Can't open it up to the people.
That's way too quick.
Jim, you have a question?
You say you have 4 bids. There were only 3 bidders at the mandatory walkthrough.
Yeah, I think that we've had an email that's gonna clarify that.
Yeah,
Where is
yeah, I
our,
think-
where is our attorney? I seen an email that we, do you know, Shaq, do you know where,
John Baxter.
John
Wayne?
is? We're gonna need
Just
him
walked out,
for.
but I'll go find you.
And if I may have a few minutes before you even open these, I would like to address you guys in
All
the
right.
public meeting.
Commissioners?
I think public comment, we have public comment after this, Jim, which I think you'll be more than welcome to address us. I'll just stick this one partially in there for you.
Wonder what you did with it.
Huh?
You know what I did? Well, apparently he took your autonomous car and.
Took
left
off.
the building. Meet
Vacation.
George Jetson. Well, I guess what we can do is, we can go ahead and read the bids.
We can read the numbers. We'll have an apparent low bidder whenever we read the numbers. Doesn't mean that we're gonna award it today. They're
Yeah.
gonna have to be reviewed properly.
Yeah, make sure they're all.
But then, I mean, we will have an apparent low bidder. I think what you're relating to, because the email that I read from the attorney, because the bid documents didn't change, and I'm speaking as an attorney now, and I should not be, but that it was okay to open the 4th bid. So I'm just,
Is that clear as it can be?
I'm just stating what the attorney's what the attorney's advice was, so.
Walkthrough. It was as clear as it can be.
Okay, here he is. Maybe you can clarify.
What was the question?
So the question is one of the bidders is asking about a mandatory walkthrough, and there was an email, maybe you could, that you'd sent, maybe you can enlighten us on.
To who? Who did I send the email to?
You sent it
sent it to
about
us.
the mandatory walkthrough that they had already walked through.
That one of the
I gotta be
bidders had
honest, I'm not
already
very
done a
familiar
walkthrough prior to the,
Yes.
apparently not with
That you, sorry.
this group or
Took me a
whatever,
second.
but that
So
doesn't
we
walk.
did already have a walkthrough, and I think the party, is this the party from New Mexico or the party from Colorado?
It doesn't, I think it doesn't matter what party it was.
Right, I just didn't know who I was speaking to. So I know that the party who wanted to submit to apply for this did already do a walkthrough. I mean,
Your specifications said mandatory walkthrough, all bidders should be there at the same time.
So he
It
did.
was as clear as it can be.
Okay, so maybe it was clear to him, but I think that the board certainly has the authority to not require somebody to do the walkthrough a second time, and so you can waive that requirement. It's up to you. You don't have to, but we had a walkthrough, and my understanding was it was completed.
Which was my email that went to you gentlemen also. I said, I read the terminology in there as mandatory, and I stated, are you sure you want to make this mandatory?
Mhm.
And it was responded back that yes, it wants to be mandatory, so.
But it was done.
It was
It
done
was-
already
I mean,
prior to that.
Not for this bid document, I think is what the question is.
Yep.
Is that,
And so you all do have the authority to waive making somebody do a second walkthrough.
well, let's just read the bids and let's see if it's even relevant. The first bid is from Whittle Inc., doing business as a TL roofer. They're based in Durango. And is somebody gonna be writing these numbers? The first bid is for the sheriff complex, and the total bid is, so we're doing both bids.
Yeah, you have the
it's both
sheriff and
bids.
the Annex
Okay.
3 in each one.
So the first bid from them is for the sheriff's complex, and their total bid is $171,597. We'll go to their Annex 3 total bid, and it is $68,477. And that, again, is for Whittle Inc., doing business as TL Roofing. So, Chuck, I guess I'll hand these, back to Chuck. Okay, the next bid is, let's see here. Who is this from?
just keep going.
Oh, okay. Do I just need to go to the end? Did you?
It'll say it in there somewhere. This coming from.
I still don't see a name. Oh. This came from, is that AIS LLC at 401 Western Circle, Aztec, New Mexico? And just, pardon, I gotta get to the end because
You guys might want to make sure there's also a requirement was a bid bond, was bid bond included with the first bid?
I don't know the answer to that. But we'll make sure that we find out.
Correct, we'll review all of these.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're just
Yeah,
gonna
we'll-
find an apparent low bidder
Yeah, we'll
today.
go.
Once they be reviewed, they won't be awarded until,
Ordinarily, that's acknowledged.
right.
Okay, the total job cost for the Annex 3 building roof replacement is $88,500. The total job cost for the sheriff's office roof replacement is $208,800. these documents went with this, correct? Is that right?
Correct. I'll put them back together.
Okay, the next one is called D.K. and Associates, I believe. They are out of, they're out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Or that's where the bond, they actually have the bond right here. Okay, so their bid for the county sheriff's complex is would you agree that that would have to be
That
the
should be the total for that one.
okay? All right, so for the sheriff's complex, their bid is $197,720. And their bid for the Annex 3 is going to be $73,180. All right, and here is the top line installers for the sheriff's complex. $197,855. Annex 3 is $72,300. So
That would be all.
yeah, and I haven't seen the numbers to know what I just said, so can anybody break it down?
Sure. There they are right there. Apparent low bidder, right from those numbers, is T&L.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. So we're going to have to do a little bit of
So,
checking
right,
here
so
before we
as
make
of
it.
right now, just through the bid numbers, you have
Right,
an
just-
apparent low bidder,
Right.
but everything has to be checked to make sure that it
It
includes
qualifies,
everything, and then that's when we'll award
Yep.
the bond, or the,
Bid.
I'm sorry, the bid next week. So we have to have enough time to review it. There were 2 bid bonds that I did see enclosed, just quickly scanning through there, so there are 2 bid bonds that are in there.
Okay. Anything else, commissioners?
No, we have an apparent low bidder.
Okay, let's go to the county attorney report.
We've been busy with most of the same things. One good thing to report is yesterday, Walmart filed a motion to dismiss our action, dismiss us from the action. The way they worded it, just to make it perfectly clear to you all, the way they worded it was that we've reached a settlement and we're dismissing the case against Montezuma County. They're not dismissing it against everybody. I think that what they chose was that it wasn't worth litigating with us for them because it wasn't as big of a money amount as it is for some of the bigger counties. We reached no settlement other than saying, yes, you can dismiss it. So that was how they defined settlement. So that thing, the order hasn't been signed yet, but probably get signed today.
So does that mean they are acquiescing to the amount of money that our assessor has apprised them that they owe?
And specifically, our assessor should do the same thing
Yep.
in the future years as what she's been
Absolutely.
doing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Good, good,
All right, anything else?
good deal.
No.
Could you talk about the letter from Miss Humiston that I brought up last week? Joyce Humiston, who
Yes.
runs our group of nursing homes.
Good point.
Had,
Do you have it to
Re-
display? So
bet
I sent a
I
letter
did.
last week to CDPHE, both to Miss McGowan, maybe Dr. McGowan, I don't know, and Dr.
Jill
Hunsaker Ryan, is that her name?
Head of CDPHE?
Yes.
Yep.
Essentially pleading for some consideration of a variance for the nursing homes. They want to bring in, I don't even know the word, aestheticians, people that do your hair, pedicure people, those
right.
types of things into the nursing home facilities, which they're not allowed to do right now. People are allowed to leave and go to those,
Right.
And some people don't have the transportation or the family or the means to do that, and it seems like it's a big deal to that population to look good, or to feel comfortable about yourself. And so it was a letter that I sent to CDPHE,
Good.
essentially asking them to consider it.
No.
A lot of this is Shaq had started it and inquired as, hey, should this come from the commissioners? Should this come from, I don't know, me, from him? I figured the quickest way to do it was just have me do it and do it in this fashion. You all certainly can do your own letter as well.
Right.
But this is on our Montezuma County letterhead, but
Good.
it says attorney.
So my question is, and we talked about this in that CCI meeting yesterday, when we were talking about variances, we are still under the same, I don't want to call it opposition, but that's really what it is. Do we have to have, for any variance, do we still have to have the letter of support from the Ute Mountain Ute tribe?
Anything that the
So-
county applies for, we have to get support from the hospital, the health department, and the Ute Mountain Ute tribe.
But I don't know that this is a request from a county. I didn't want to mix the two. This is the request from the nursing home facility.
From C&G.
I was
their management-
I was giving my 2 cents.
Okay.
Right. That's from their management corporation to ask them to.
So then they can just do it on their own?
Right. This would come as a direct deal to the
Okay.
C&G Healthcare to acquiesce on that.
Well, and I'd like to point out the statistics that, these people who are elderly are 25% more likely due to isolation and loneliness to die prematurely from all kinds of other risks: heart disease, metastatic cancer, strokes, neurodegenerative diseases, just due to the isolation and loneliness.
Yeah.
I agree with it.
No, I do too, 100%.
Yes.
I've got a mother-in-law that I haven't seen in 3.5 months, and I know it's not doing her any good not to be able to interact at all with anybody outside that nursing facility, and it takes a toll on them, and maybe as much of a toll as the COVID-19 takes on them if they got it.
And by the way, Miss Humanston runs the only group of nursing homes in the
has
state that has not had one patient contract COVID-19.
All right.
Right.
Thank you. Actually, I see you sent it to Jill Ryan, but the other one,
Who's
the
the
name
head?
that you had named before?
McCowan.
Yeah, McCown.
She's
She just
copied on
got appointed to the,
Task force.
no, she got
Oil and
appointed to
gas.
Oil and Gas Commission.
Oh, that's right.
COGCC, yeah, he really loaded that thing, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So
love it.
is she have dual roles now, or is she still at CDPHE as the assistant director?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I would assume she does, but
The reason I
don't know.
CC'd her is that we've had, at least personally, me, and I think everyone has had more communications directly with her.
Yeah,
I
you're right.
certainly have.
On our
Because
Zoom
in our Zoom
conversations
meetings,
and
that's,
whatnot.
yes,
Karen McGowan.
yeah,
And so
yep, I agree.
we sent it to her too.
Okay, then we'll go on to Natural Resources Planning and Public Lands Report with James Dietrich. Good. Still morning, barely. Good
morning.
James.
All right.
Okay. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, James.
So the first thing I wanted to bring to the commission was a letter that we're addressing to the BLM, and this letter is basically just saying that we want to remain engaged in the Section 106 process for the evaluation of the Flodine and Yellow Jacket grazing allotment. So at this point, I talked with the BLM about that, and they said that the land health assessment is sort of a general information packet. And so we're kind of waiting to find out what we're going to get from that, because it does trigger the Section 106 process, which goes into SHPO, and we just want to make sure that we're fully engaged with that as much as we possibly can be. So that's what is reflected in this letter, and I'm just asking to have the commissioner send this on to the BLM.
Yeah. Thanks, James. I mean, we need to stay a part of it, but when they brought SHPO down and they've turned this thing into a dead-end street, man. They put an end to cattle on. Those Enviros got their wishes, didn't they? Cattle free and
sure seems like that could be the way it goes here.
They got it.
So I did talk with Al Heaton this morning. He's very concerned about it, and I think other ranchers that are possibly in the under consideration for those allotments are pretty concerned about it too. So he's trying to organize those folks together. We will try to hold a Rangeland Stewardship Committee meeting in the next week or two, just get our heads together to see if there's anything we can think of to help assist with this. But I think the main thing is to let the BLM know we're right there, we're not going away, and more importantly, to let SHPO know that we're right there, we're not going away.
So commissioners, would you be willing to?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, to sign that letter.
Yes. Do you need a motion? Do we need a motion for that letter? We need a motion for that, John?
Yes, if you're all gonna sign it, yes.
So-
Okay.
You're gonna have to scroll down, Chuck. So I'd move that we sign and accept the letter to Connie Clementson at the Tres Field office for the Flowdine Park and Yellow Jacket Section 106 process.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the letter written on behalf of the commissioners for the Flowdine Park and Yellow Jacket, particularly to the Section 106 process, and how we would like to be fully engaged and involved. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
James?
I guess the next item I had was an update from CDPHE, what do they call it, OPS, OPD, their oil division. And so I did ask them, what the status is of the M&M cleanup. They responded basically saying that they'll be sending some additional folks down for testing in July, and that the date for doing their actual work has been pushed back. We do not have a date certain on that yet. So, I think maybe we send them a letter and just kind of keep the pressure up on them. I did visit with Mr. Baxter today. We've got another site in the county that obviously we all know about out there on 160. And so I think the suggestion was to include that in the letter also, to start putting some pressure on OPS to be getting on that project also. So I'll try to get that letter put together and bring to the commission for next week.
Very good, this was one of the follow-ups that I had, trying to not let all of this stuff just get totally taken off the table and forgot about through the midst of this whole COVID thing. But if we don't get that division of CDPHE to keep pushing them, we're going to be sitting on this for another 20 years, and I think that's just wrong. So thank you, James, if you can get that letter written, and we can at least give us, I would like to have one time that CDPHE gives us an actual date and a time, because up to this point in time, they've never given us.
Keep buying those lottery tickets, Commissioner.
You got wish in one hand and something in the other.
Well, we can keep pushing and trying to get.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to comply with their process
Sure.
and their needs. So.
And I would hope
moving.
that the property owners down there at the M&M are doing the same thing. I would hope that they are riding on the same bandwagon that we're on to get this thing done and get it cleaned up so that they may have a marketable piece of real estate down there, and at least have a piece of real estate you can do something with.
Well, right now, our M&M looks like it could be in shop, that 6 mile square in Seattle?
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
we
maybe
got it tagged just, it looks exactly like everything in that 6
It's the
block square.
same deal, doesn't it? Yeah, yeah.
It's awful.
We could have our own protest down there. We could
Maybe
all
they'll
go in
tear-
with,
tear it down.
we could go in with shovels and loaders and dump trucks and clean it up, and we'll just put up protest signs that says rural Colorado matters.
So,
Boy, we want to get her done. That sounds like a good
also,
plan.
I'm gonna keep talking because Shaq keeps trying to divert somewhere else. On the, and this is probably a question for John as our emails are going back and forth, but, so the property for the BLM on the county road N,
I think would be.
M.
Well,
it's
M.
36. It's 36.
I think we're talking
M?
about 36.5.
Yeah, it's
M,
36.5.
Yeah.
whatever it is, M. Where do we actually stand on that? As far as researching that easement, is that actually a
Let's get the easement.
Well, we already
non-
researched it because
exclusive?
the next
Well-
day, Doug sent us the confirmation.
The easement exists, but is it the language as far as a exclusive or non-exclusive easement, do we actually have access to that 60-foot?
Does Doug have a copy of that? Because I did see those comments saying, hey, there's a non-exclusive easement granted to this company. And
Yeah,
then he
we
passed that information on.
do, and I think, after talking with the county surveyor, he feels like the key document on that is that quitclaim deed.
There you go.
That
So-
quitclaims everything over to Western Life. And I believe everybody's already got a copy of that, but I'll sure send it around to everybody.
So there
We do.
was an original document that created that easement. And so I assume, I think that's what we need to look at.
Okay, I believe there may be a copy of that already floating around. I'll double check with Doug on that. I don't personally have that copy.
It sure looked like everything, the correspondence that I was seeing, that it's a go. We've got access to the BLM property, that
So
4,000
if
acres.
that is actually the case, and I'd like to also move forward with Connie to see if we can't make that process also move forward so that we can get that completed and not
Go on and on.
not
and on.
wait.
Faster than Sand
So-
Canyon that happened?
Yeah, inaction.
I'm just,
inaction.
I don't want to let all of these things fail and fall. We're so close now with the information that has come about that to make absolutely certain that we have the legal right to that right of way,
Sure.
then we can access that piece of property.
Well, we had brought it up with the landowner that, if he wanted to build a parking lot. So I think just need to call him up and ask him. And if he says no or yes, whichever, we got to have an answer.
Sure. And we can work with him on all this too. It does sort of seem like, based on what the surveyor is telling me, and again, we'll probably have to work with you on this, John. It almost looks like that quitclaim deed kind of gives the authority all over to Western Life, which means, if we want to use that easement, I think
That's
it
how the
means we're talking
surveyor must have
Western Life.
interpreted it. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
James. But I'd want to see the document that he's interpreting.
Oh,
Because you
certainly.
can write easements any way you want to write them.
Right.
I read it differently.
Yeah, and so, but I don't know that I've read the actual document that created the easement. I've read the document that transferred the non-exclusive easement to Western, whatever the company
Which was the quitclaim deed that we reviewed.
Right,
Yeah.
but there was already an easement that was
document,
created
right.
before that.
Right.
And so depending on how they created that, if they weren't absolutely clear that it's only that company that gets access to it, then I'd say we're in the clear and we have access to that. But maybe they were very clear that says no, only the property owner next to it and he has access to it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll validate that document. We'll find that document. I think we've already pulled it up.
Yeah.
But I'll get with Doug and make sure we've got a copy of that one. And then that quitclaim deed, it seems like those are the two
I've got that
really
quitclaim
important pieces of paper.
And then just forward them on to John, because this would be his purview.
Yeah,
Certainly.
It's now in the attorney's hands to
Yeah.
make sure that if it's clear, then,
Yep.
move forward with either the property owner and or client.
And we can still work with that property owner as far as, I think he suggested places that he'd prefer parking lots, and, you know, perhaps we can accommodate that.
Certainly. Okay. Okay, I guess that pretty much concludes my report. The one thing I will add is the flight for the LiDAR data on the Paso Mesa Verde Trail has been completed, and so they're in the process of processing that data. I don't really know what that means, but anyway, I'm glad I just don't do that work in
That
particular.
path has been a subject of a lot of comments with this current commissioner race underway.
Yes, I've heard that, yeah. So we will be looking forward to getting that data in, and then we'll be moving on to the next phase of that project. And I have still not got any of the final contract stuff from the Multimodal Options Fund or the Colorado the Beautiful grant. So as soon as we get that in hand, we'll be looking to start advancing the next phases. Okay, I guess that concludes my report for today.
Anything else, commissioners, for James?
No, I just see that the BLM, we got a letter from Connie Clementson that they're doing a big revamp on a parking lot down off of County Road 10 down to the Painted Hand. So they're doing a road realignment to get it off private land and put it all on BLM, and they're talking about a it sounds like a hard surface road of some sort. I mean, it sounds like a pretty big project, so.
There's a story behind that.
Is there?
Yeah, James knows a lot about it.
Yeah, and in fact, that'll
There's
be
a
part
gate
of our
down there. I think, isn't
comments.
there a gate down there that presented some problems or something?
Well, there's that, yes. But yes, so next week, I'll try to bring what I've prepared and given to the BLM already forward, and it'll be part of our comment, as long as the commissioners agree with that, of course.
I got you, I got you.
But, okay.
Thank you, James.
Thanks,
Okay,
James.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
We'll go on to the county administrator report, Shaq Powers.
The first thing I have is our payables report for the month of May. All the county funds total come to $3,127,644.95 for the month of May.
Does Commissioner Ortell, doesn't it seem like the total's been really increased since we've had Shaq Powers as our administrator?
I think if you'll just look at the line above it, purely half of our total expenditures came from social services.
Okay, so we can't blame that on him.
So I have a feeling that we've seen an increase, but I think we know where the increase is coming from. And, yeah. Yeah,
Well,
half our monthly budget.
We know where that's coming from.
We know where it's coming from, yeah.
115% increase, so.
Any other questions about the financials, or somebody would like to?
So I would move that we accept the financials for Montezuma County for the month of May in the amount of $3,127,644.95.
Second.
Motion second to approve the financials for Montezuma County for the month of May 2020 in the amount of $3,127,644.95. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Mr. Powers?
All right. So one thing the county has moved to doing with the help of our public information officer, there was a lot of businesses that were impacted by the closures due to COVID-19, and so we have moved to advertising on behalf of our local businesses that were impacted. So if you're watching the county's Facebook and whatnot, you'll be able to see what promotions and what they're doing to get back to work. And so keep an eye on that if you want to know what your local businesses are doing. The next line item, we have briefly discussed this, but there's our IT department is going to put on a concert on the 4th of July, and in order that they don't have to, because they're just people who are in our IT department, it's not a function of the IT department, but at the fairgrounds they're going to put on a concert, and so in order that they don't have to come up with $1 million worth of insurance, they're asking that the county would sponsor that event and that it fall under the county's insurance.
I think we'd already somewhat
I think
discussed
we
that.
need to have a vote on that, don't we, John?
I'm sure we do.
If you want to make it a commissioner decision, yes, we should vote on it. If it's a Shaq decision, you don't necessarily need to. You can.
Depends on which way he decides.
Basically, what he would
decided
do
to help him out.
is he would call Bentley and let them know that we just want to add them for this event. That's all. It won't cost us anything.
Right.
I don't think it's a big deal. There's nothing illegal about it.
They're not serving liquor, they're not doing any of that stuff out there, so it should be pretty straightforward, so. I would move that we allow the concert at the Montezuma County Fairgrounds on the 4th of July to be covered by Montezuma County liability insurance.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the concert that's going to be on 4th of July out at the Montezuma County Fairgrounds for 2020 to be co-sponsored by Montezuma County. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then the next thing, I've been on several webinars and conferences with CDPHE and the governor over the last week, and they're talking about by the end of the month and going into July what it's going to look like to move into the protect your neighbor phase of this COVID-19 reopening. And there's a lot that still has to be done, but one thing that's coming out of it is that the governor is not going to reopen the state with a blanket order like he did for the last couple of loosenings. He's going to make that go on what they're calling a regional basis, and they have not yet defined if those regions will be county by county, municipality by municipality, or if it'll be like Region 9 where we have our 5-county area. They've not yet defined that, but he will not reopen the state the same way he closed the state. in
Yeah, I
his
was going
one
to bring that
sentence.
up. Maybe those idiots should have figured that out on the front end instead of the back end.
So whatever those processes are, we will be moving through that, but it will be an application process. They are in the process of bringing in some types of experts to be able to look at what type of infection rates you have in your area, what type of transmission rates you have in your area, and they'll want clearly defined numbers on those things, but that's what it's going to be looking like. And then the last thing that I need to bring up, and maybe I should have reminded John of this during his report, is the CARES Act funding that we're due to receive. I think, do they need to just vote on that? Do they need to sign something? You've got buy-in from all the municipalities now, right?
IGA to be.
They completed it. It was, I think, Friday or something of last week. And so I at least heard from everybody that everybody agreed to it. I don't know if anyone has signed it yet, but are you capable of displaying that, or should I send it to you?
Why don't you send it to me real
Okay.
quick, and then I don't have
Well,
to.
I know there's a deadline, right? Is it
July
the
7th.
Yes,
So-
I think you all should go ahead and vote on it today to approve it. And it's only the chair who's going to sign it, but, you know, if two of you disagree with it, then the chair's not going to sign it. So.
No, I think it was all the municipalities. The IGA is for everybody to get on
Exactly.
board to have that
Yep.
funding. So I would move that we sign the IGA
Do
between
you have a
the
hard copy, or do I need to print it?
City of Cortez, Town of Mancos, Town of Dolores, and Montezuma County for the CARES Act funding distribution.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the distribution of the CARES Act funding, the agreement that has been brought up and agreed upon by the City of Cortez, City of Mancos, City of Dolores, and Montezuma County. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was about to. I might have already once.
So then we can get that to them so that they can get
They
that
can sign
signed.
it.
Here is
So-
basically what it is. Sorry, Shaq. We've all agreed to just divide it up per cap, per municipality, per county. The county does get the most. As we discussed, I think last week or the week before, we are going to first take off from the top of the total amount of money that we distribute, the amount of
36,510.
that we already
Gave the hospital
gave
for the machine,
hospital.
yeah. Yep.
And then also in there, it's that they're responsible for their own
Yep.
recording and then reporting
Yep.
to
That's
the
correct.
state.
And one of the last things that we worked out was we didn't want to get all the money and have to distribute it. I guess it wouldn't have been the end of the world, but the way we have agreed to it now is everybody's just gonna get their own distribution, take care of all their own legal obligations. Hopefully they do it right, but it's not our fault if they don't, and it's not their fault if we don't.
So the reporting is left up to them.
I know that that was a discussion yesterday as well in the Western District meeting because, and it was interesting, it's a Democrat county, it's Routt County, and, but there was a fight, and one of them, I think they had 4 or 5 municipalities that is in Routt County, but the big one is Steamboat Springs, and on the allocation, and one of the questions that was asked by the commissioner was, well, if they don't, you have to justify everything that you spend, you know, and they felt like they had over allocated what they had spent on COVID-19, and the question was, well, if they don't justify, or if is there any money left over, can that money be transferred to the county or another municipality that actually spent more? So I don't know the answer. But
I don't know the answer to that. As a whole, the way it's set up right now, any funds that aren't spent by December 30th, the way it's been explained to us, are supposed to go back to the state.
Right.
They go back to DOLA, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so Patrick came on later in the meeting.
Oh, I missed that.
And kind of, well, the way it is set up now, if that will then go back into the DOLA fund, and then,
Be distributed out.
yeah, then it'll be redistributed at that point in time.
But so absolutely, those other municipalities or Montezuma County could choose to, with our money, if you all choose to say, hey, no, we want to give it all to Mancus, I think you all can choose to do that. They have to spend it, though, still pursuant to the CARES Act, or it's all going to get returned. And so if one of those municipalities doesn't spend it all or wants to transfer some to Montezuma County, they can, but you then also have to follow the guidelines of the CARES Act to spend it. You can't just put it into roads.
So I've got another question for you. This is a technical comment, but it needs a very clear answer. Does each board have to vote on and agree to this? Each board?
Yes.
The reason I bring that up is the deadline is July 7th. The city of Cortez meets on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month, and they've canceled their meeting tonight.
Well, then we have to get it to the city manager and the mayor, I guess, and then they'll have to decide what to do at that point in
Or
time,
they're
whether
going to
they
have to have a
call a
meeting next
meeting.
week,
Well,
whether
they
they
can-
want to or not.
They
They
can
can call
do
a
it by
meeting.
email, maybe.
Yeah.
Or,
But that will only affect the city of Cortez's portion. It will
No,
not.
we have to all sign on to this agreement, or the
Oh.
money won't be distributed.
Okay, so it's going to be individual usage of the money independent of the county, but we all
But
have,
the
but
IGA
the,
has to be signed collectively.
but their attorney and their city manager both know all this and know it needs to be signed and have
Okay.
agreed to
And
this. So presumably.
So will
they'll
they
get it done.
have, so will they have a discussion with the city council before the 7th? I mean, if there's no meeting tonight, how?
Well, then, so
They can have
the
a
second
special
Tuesday of July would be what?
Second Tuesday of July?
We should ask them, we should maybe poke them to say, hey, can you get this taken care of
No,
before July 7th? I know that they know they have to.
Yeah, it'll be
but
passed.
This issue hasn't been brought up.
So they've not, what I'm saying is, if it has to be approved by their board has no meeting time set aside left whereby they can vote on it.
But they can have a special meeting.
Well, so
So
I think they need some prompting to have a meeting.
They understand now that we have it, it's approved, everybody's on board, so I'm sure that they'll have their meeting and make it happen.
Well, I ain't so sure they haven't had a meeting yet.
That's the way with
That's
me.
where we go by.
They
I'm not
they
real-
have Zoom meetings.
I'm
Well,
not real
then-
sure anything down there.
But tonight's canceled. They're not even doing a Zoom meeting.
I understand that, but
Okay.
send the email, ask them when they can get it signed.
You got a lot more confidence than we do. We've seen the track record.
Yep.
That concludes my cheery report.
Okay, commissioners, Commissioner
I
Tell?
attended, sorry I missed the district meeting yesterday. I got hung up and didn't get to that. I had a Colorado Workforce Development Board meeting last Wednesday, and it's a scramble. They're still, and I asked them, I don't understand this. They're still working virtually for all the workforce centers and stuff, and I asked him, I said, why aren't we getting people into those offices and open those offices up where they can come by and, but anyway, they're still working virtually on most of that stuff, and the jobless rate is, as everybody knows, unemployment is through the roof. There are jobless people out there everywhere, and they're trying to do the best they can with the limited abilities they've got. So that's about it.
Commissioner Candelaria?
Okay, mine is gonna be a little lengthier, but anyway, we started back with the advisory board meeting with MoCo. We've kind of talked about all of that, so I won't go over that.
When was that
anymore.
meeting, Jim? I missed that.
That was on the 18th.
On the 18th?
Yep.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, she had sent out those invites, so I just,
Jonathan sent them out?
no, Jennifer.
Oh, Jennifer. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was for MoCo, the advisory board meeting.
Okay, gotcha.
Then I was able to meet with Don Quorum and Mark Catlin this Saturday afternoon, and one of the biggest topics that we were talking about was how our rural hospitals have been impacted with this whole COVID-19 and the shortfalls that they're probably going to see, everybody, or with the lack of occupancy within the hospitals, because basically everything was shut down. It's going to hurt
Again,
rural
didn't CDC tell us that we're going to have it overwhelmed, the hospital?
In the beginning, that was what the statement was. So
Ding,
I
ding,
went
ding,
ahead
ding,
and
again, they were wrong.
emailed to see actually where we're at with our hospital, which is positive in a response. They have 9 patients in-house, which that means that they actually have customers coming back in, and we have no COVID-19 patients, and this was as of yesterday, so it could have changed, but the capabilities and the capacities that they are ready in case something does change, and or if the second wave or spike, you know, whatever you want to call it, does happen. So I thought that was positive, that was good news. At least we are getting some people back into the hospital to take care of that, so that hopefully we don't lose that. Let's see, we talked about the M&M and working with OPS and trying to make sure that we can get some dates out of those people, which I will stay on top of that to keep pushing, and then with the other property east of town that we've been working on. Had to, Shaq and I and Bonnie met over a discussion over some weeds and a disgruntled person, but after talking to him, everything is fine. I think it was just a miscommunication, but everything is really good. And I think that's, other than the Western meeting yesterday, we actually have a new president, which is Keith Caddy from Montrose, and a new vice president, which is Jonathan Hoke from Gunnison, a Gunnison County Commissioner. We were asked, some of the stuff that Shaq had already went over was the reopening and how that's going to play out. The CARES Act distribution, which we've already discussed and talked about with our IGA, and more of a discussion on the de-Gallagherization, you know, if anybody was going to put anything or a question on the ballot. And as of right now, most of the counties that were there yesterday didn't have anything that they were going to put on the ballot. So that's a quick synopsis of my last week.
Mine was, I listened to that as well. I think there's 16 counties or 15 counties, and every one of them said that they didn't think they would put a de-Gallagherization on the ballot. But, you know, trying to look into the crystal ball, all I can see is our businesses are not making as much money. They're struggling. Our social service benefits are going up, or the requests are going up for food stamps because they're having a hard time making a living. All because they said we should social distance, so let's look at what they told us to do. They told Walmart to shut all three entrances going in and neck it down to one. So what happened? And what happened with City Market? Actually, City Market, according to everybody that I've been talked to, is the busiest that they've ever been. So what they did, instead of putting everybody, taking them apart, they condensed them. The same with Walmart. And man, this stuff has got to stop. It's just, how stupid do they think we are? They're telling us to all go in the same door instead of going in three. They're telling us to, and then they only have 3 checkers. So if you go in there, I went in there yesterday, you got a line of 20 people, and you know, they're going to have to get more than just one line for the pot shop down there, because that thing's going to need 3 or 4 to keep up. But anyway, I've had enough, and I got to tell you, but I'm going to tell the taxpayers is this: they're coming for your money. You have less, but they're going to figure out a way to get more of it. And one of the first things they did is they took away the salt reform, so they could get that money back, and they're going to do everything they can to try to figure out how to raise your, they can't do it taxes on the ballot, they're going to do it with a fee. They're going to call a fee what it is tax, but they're coming for you. And then they'll completely destroy what we have left in this county. So that's all I've got left to say. We are at public comment. If you'd like to talk in public comment, please come up to the podium, state your name and address.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I am Jim Herrick. I own Top Line Installers here in Cortez. I'm a local roofing contractor. We bid on the roofing work that you guys put out for bid today. A couple things I just want to make sure I want to go on the record of is this is the second time you guys have put this out to bid. The first time it was put out to bid, I noticed a discrepancy and raised as much stink as I could in an effort to get it rebid. Had you guys followed generally accepted protocol in bids, the bids that you received in March, you should have rejected the bid from DKG because it was non-responsive. It did not bid per the specification. The only bid that you guys received that met the specification was from my firm, and we should have been awarded that work then. And if we would have, it would have been done, and those dollars would have been spent in Montezuma County. So you put it back out for bid, and here we are. Now you got 4 bidders, and once again, we're not the low bidder. I will say that if you select a firm out of Durango, they do good work. That's a quality firm. There's no question about that. But there are some things that are lacking in the way you guys do business, and seriously lacking. The specification that you guys put forward is a joke, a complete joke. It's the most unprofessional, illogical specification I have come across in some time. There is absolutely no reference to what roofing material should be, very little reference to what roofing material should be used. There's no reference to what warranty is required or desired. There's no reference to really important things in my industry, fire ratings and wind uplift ratings. No reference to that at all. Now, I did provide this to your staff for them to incorporate in the next bid. I said, hey, here's a generic deal. I provided it in Word format, so it could have been easily plagiarized, if you will, and it could have been incorporated, and it would have eliminated a lot of questions. Right now, I'm pretty sure you get a pretty good product. I don't know that you really know what you're going to get. I think that you guys really need to investigate the way you do business, especially on this public works stuff. And I hate to tell you that you need to do it, but it's really in your best interest to hire a design professional, an architect or an engineer, to assist you in putting these documents out. It makes it more professional. It makes the playing field completely level. It's in the best interest of the taxpayers. It's the way most other entities do it. Now, in regards to today's deal with you went ahead and opened the bid from GKG. The proper protocol would have been to just set it aside and wouldn't be open it because they weren't responsive, because they weren't at the mandatory walkthrough. Now, if you're going to change that and not make it mandatory, you have to let everybody know that it's not mandatory. I had also looked at that work. I took a day off to go and look at those roofs again in conjunction with everyone else, so that if there are questions, they are brought forth so everybody has the same question and all the questions are answered. So I guess I'm just going to say I'm really disappointed in the way this was all handled. I think had your staff let me know, or let us know, my estimator George Cookie is here, that you would accept a lesser product, the half-inch cover board as opposed to the 2-inch insulation, we would have bid accordingly, and we would have been awarded that work, and it would be done now. And those dollars would have stayed in Montezuma County. And I make no mistake about it, I am quite resentful of this whole process. And
Well,
I
I'll
reserve.
speak to you about that. So I'm going to have to agree with you a little bit. The reason I'm going to have to agree was it was a situation that happened remodeling the fairground. And how it really resonates with me is I got a call last week from, seeing what we did, a call from a contractor that is in competition with the contractor that got the bid. And it'll be interesting when we get a rebid, because if this, what he says, well, let me get this straight. You had, the county made a mistake and the contractor made a mistake. And they were the only bidder. And there was allocated $200,000 to do the remodel, and it was $80,000 under budget. This is what this contractor tells me. And I'm like, yeah? And he says then,
Actually, that's incorrect. It wasn't.
it was 130, I mean, it's $70,000.
But you have to add all of the equipment that we've purchased in there also. So that's an incorrect number. So go ahead, I just want to
But
make sure.
okay,
that-
but well, all I know that what we purchased was we
Go ahead.
purchased, I think it was $20,000 worth of appliances.
It's more than that.
30,000.
Yeah, I don't know.
40,000.
His
But his
number's
bottom
wrong.
line is this, is we had the job for 130 or some change or whatever, plus whatever those appliances cost. We had $200,000 that was lined up for it, and he says, you wait when you bid it again. Why, they already know you got $200,000, so what do you think's going to happen? He said you were down $80,000. The smart decision was to just go ahead, and we made a mistake, they made a mistake, go to work. So we have got a lot, and I've had some extremely smart people looking at the way that we do things. I disagree with you about an architect, but an engineer now on the other case.
Well, okay,
Okay.
I can go on. I can go on with that.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
No, I understand. I also was, there was brought up why do we have these things pre-bid? I mean, pre-looked at. There's got to be a way that we can have our lawyer or somebody that we designate before it ever comes into this room, and they're like, whoa, I found this and I found this. I don't know if that's legal or not.
Oh, I
but
can look at those things, and I
because we just keep
didn't
having
have
mistake after
discretion to-
mistake after mistake, and it makes it just.
Well, it's just unfortunate, because had the information been all provided to us in the beginning, we would have got to work, we would have employed our Montezuma County-based personnel, and all this stuff, we would have, it would be done at this point. We would have already been done with it. Now, it's, I really don't know, we were specific that we quoted that we will be providing a 20-year warranty. I have no idea. I mean, it's, that wasn't really a requirement. That's just the way we do things. You guys can do better. I mean, and you should do better. You are spending the public money. And I do appreciate your service, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity.
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak at public comment?
Dexter Gill in Lewis, Colorado. Thank you. I just want to take a second, I think, to thank you guys and your administration, all this COVID stuff, and with the fires, emergencies we've been having. The idea of having a public information person putting out information has been very helpful. It's been a very good thing. I think they've done a very good job, and I'd like to see it continue so that they can kind of keep track of what's going on. It helps us out there in the public to say, what in the world's happening in the county? What are they doing? Well, they are doing something. We thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dexter.
Anybody else?
Danny Wilkin, 11728 Highway 491. This would just kind of go back to some of the discussion at the planning department today and stuff. And, you know, I think that would really be good to take and look at the part about in the land use code where it says if there's an inactivity in a place for a year, then you have to go back through all the processes. You know, the thing of it is most time you have a commercial or industrial operation going on, even if it shuts down, it's already impacted that area. That's already the area around it. And, you know, and in order to take and draw more businesses back into those, you can't expect them to have to go through this process. It just becomes another process and another cost to get a new business in here. And so,
been discussing that. That's
Yeah.
on
I just
this
wrote it
list
down.
because, you know, there are so many situations about what you're talking about. Maybe it's a propane dealership, and that something happens in transition, they go on a 2-year sabbatical. It's still there. It's still functional. And it doesn't make sense.
Still the same business.
Same business. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
well, and I know that 7 or 8 years ago, that there was discussions about something happening at the M&M before it had got into the shape that it is now. And that was one of the things, is they was going to have to go back through these processes again. And those become deal killers and stuff. So I'm glad that you're revisiting that, and I'm glad it came up. So thank you.
And that will be included in my...
Anybody else? Plus the 100-foot setback.
I got it.
Anybody else? Alan, you're the only one that hasn't.
Gentlemen, I have a little bit of good news.
All right. Good salesman.
I was just going to let you know that I finally got the award from the state for $50,000 for the vote service polling equipment that we're required to have for the one that we're required to have down there.
Good. Toyota.
I
Good.
finally got the award.
Wow.
Just wanted to let you know. Took me a year.
Only took a year, didn't it?
Good. My name is Alan Mays, 21693 County Road 21, Lewis. Yes, thanks for the prompting to come up, and thank you for doing your jobs. What gentlemen were saying about Dexter and Danny about moving forward on some of these things, you are that the transparency is there, what you're trying to get done. I do curious to know with the no net loss and the Forest Service and purchases of land out of the county. I think that is something that you guys mentioned last week, and I hope you can stay on top of. I think that is very important.
I can answer that to you, Alan, as we speak. Derek Padilla had to cancel that meeting I had scheduled with him last Wednesday. Dennis Atwater and myself are scheduled to meet with him Friday morning at his office, so it's still on, and we'll have some responses to that.
Yep, good. Sounds like it's a good idea to have Dennis along with that. I think he's knowledgeable with things. So, so you mentioned the tax issues, fees. There are some petitions out, and hopefully you'll see those and sign. I think the wording has to be taken out that they're using the word fees when they are actually taxing people, and where they're, and the other thing with income tax, there is a petition to lower that to working people in Colorado, and it's not much to each individual, but across the board it lets the legislatures know they have to stay within a certain amount of money. They will feel that if that were to go to the people, and I think the people out there think too, they don't need to be paying that extra money if they're not seeing benefits from that. So anyway, thank you, folks.
All right, thank you. We will close public comment and go to the commissioners for a recommendation.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.